to the Pluribus podcast. We're the Lorehounds, your guides to itemized medical billing. We're David, one of the regular hosts of the Lorehounds.
And I'm Nichole, one of the hosts of Never Mind the Music. We're an affiliate of the Lorehounds Network, and we've teamed up to cover Season 1 of Pluribus on Apple TV. This is our podcast covering Episode 8, Charm Offensive.
I see you've mastered the use of pronouns there.
Yeah.
Well, the individual known as Nancy, is our feedback coordinator. She's the hand of the pod, keeper of the chronicles. And if you want to send us feedback, you can do so, pluribus@thelorehounds.com. And just a quick note, man, kindness and decorum will get you everywhere. And rude and insistent emails will get you ignored and even blocked. So please just, respect the rules of polite society. Thank you very much.
It's a very telling comment. You can also engage with us on our community Discord, where we're getting involved there as much as we can. It's been a really rich conversation full of really healthy, lovely conversation. I'm always reminded of how much expertise we have in our viewership and in our community. And it comes through in Discord, it comes through in emails. So we love hearing from you.
There was some great theory crafting going on there as well this week, and some good call outs, which we'll touch on in a little bit. We are independent podcasters, and your subscriptions matter to us. It allows us to keep everything running and produce a reasonably high quality podcast. And it also creates a community space where people on Discord can talk and allows for all of the other activities. So if you're interested and available, I would encourage and welcome you to subscribe. There are links for everything in the show notes. There's a little link tree. You can go to all the affiliates. You can find Nicole's other podcast. You can find the Discord. Everything is there for everyone. Nichole, we're barreling forward into the end of the year holiday season. How are you surviving?
I'm surviving. It's a lot of, plate spinning, and those like circus performers that they just get all the plates spinning and they just have to keep them spinning. That's my metaphor for teaching quite a bit, that the semester gets going and you just start all the plates spinning and you just have to do the balancing act for like 16 weeks. But for my job, that ends and then the holiday spinning starts. So right. I always forget about that. So I'm getting it all together. Panic shopping at this point, which doesn't feel great. I don't love that side of me that I'm like, we need more of everything. But that's where I'm at. How are you doing?
I feel, we fly out for the West Coast this Tuesday. And which is going to be interesting because episode 9, the finale, drops the night of the 23rd. So they've advanced it. So it comes out on Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard.
What's our plan for our final episode?
That is a good question. My thought was at some convenient point in between my travels and your family's life schedules, and then, of course, I'll be on a different time zone, we'll hop on and do like just a real, like a reaction podcast, not an analysis podcast, like making that distinction where you're like, I can't believe that Carol fixed the rocket to the moon and went to Mars and sent a signal to the plurbs or whatever, right? We'll just do that kind of thing. And then after the new year, I think we'll come back with a sort of a proper analysis, episode 9 analysis that is a season recap as well. And John might join us for that.
Oh, great. Fun.
Yeah, because he got into the show. But yeah, so it literally, our analysis and season wrap is going to have to wait until after the new year because I don't come back until the 31st.
Okay.
And while I could do some casual recordings, I just won't have time for analytical work. And
that totally makes sense. And I think that that's a really good plan. I can't wait to see how Walter White comes back into this whole storyline. So,
can you believe that the pizza made an appearance? The trash drone came and picked up the pizza.
They just like scooted down the street and cleaned it all up over there. But that sounds like an awesome plan. And thanks to our community for being mindful that we're three-dimensional people with lives outside of this podcast.
Possessions do matter. And I can't just fly the jet myself. So doesn't work very well. I can't just go in and use the NPR recording studio in the Pacific Northwest area.
Oh my gosh, imagine. That'd be very cool.
Very cool. So for today's episode, we're going to start off with our tepid takes because I don't know how hot we can get anymore. I mean, if we get hot any hotter, we will burst into flame. We've got some feedback from prior episodes. We've got some meta topic things. I'm excited today to talk about mirror neurons.
Yeah, me too.
We'll get into our scene by scene, and then we'll wrap it up. So, what are your tepid takes for this episode?
I liked this episode. Full stop. Continue to be very eager for Carol and Manusos to get together. I feel like it is a long time coming, and I know that this is the arc of this season was very mindful and very purposeful.
Very
and I wanted
and mindful.
Very demure, very mindful. We're done with
that's
that.
Over.
That's
though,
over.
Right? Yeah.
That's very
over.
over.
I heard 6-7 is over already as well.
Thank gosh, I can't take it anymore.
But now it's 8-9, which is a sideways hand motion. I don't know.
I was like, that can't be right. And I just want them to be together, and I know that the season's going to end with them getting together. Right. And I'm hoping that we see a lot of their exchange, and I'm hoping that it's not, he shows up on her doorstep and then the end credits roll. Like, I need some exchange between these two characters. So eager for that to happen. Glad the wheels are in motion there. Also really concerned is a strong word, but like Zosia's just they're actively manipulating Carol, and maybe Carol's manipulating them too. But the lines are getting really blurry towards that manipulation, and it makes me uncomfy. Almost as uncomfy as the old woman that they're making sleep on like the Astrodome floor. It's not the Astrodome.
Like, get her a cot.
Like, what are we doing? Like, I understand it's efficient, but like there's cots in that building for emergency preparedness. Like or something. They're close by. Like you don't need to be on the floor. I don't care if you're joined consciously. You have a physical body, and like your back is going to hurt sleeping on the floor. And that's something that everyone's going to have to deal with, is that old lady's back hurting. So like, yes, I'm mad about it. And I think it's a disgrace. So
it's so funny, the Rorschach testness of this, because I was like, oh, look at the man. He's helping the ladies. And that's
like,
nice.
Get her together. Bed.
I didn't even think about the fact that she's got to go to the floor. If she had a cot, she could just sit and lay.
She could just sit and lay. She's like in a wheelchair, and they take her out of the wheelchair. Like, there's so many other things you could do.
It's so true.
Than that. Like, get a hotel and take over the hotel.
Right.
And everyone gets their own room.
Yeah.
And you have like a kitchen there. I don't know.
There was some critique too, because like heating that space, that's a lot. A hotel might be easier. Yeah, right. There's a lot of different options.
There's so many different options.
Classrooms, hospitals, malls.
Anything, right?
Yeah. Even a hockey rink.
A furniture store. You already have all the furniture there.
I love it.
Just like do that. So I had a hard time. It was great visually.
Yeah.
It gave a lot of like, I just watched this like Hurricane Katrina documentary. It was really beautifully made. But it gave a lot of like Survivor vibes. And I don't know, something about that was really striking to me. So it was, I understood it for the narrative, but I just didn't believe it.
Fair enough.
Right. So those are I think I'll even call them hot takes. I wasn't tepid at all. So I feel strongly. How about you?
I'm pretty tepid. Sorry, I don't mean to make you spit your coffee just as you were taking a big swig there. The thing that I continue to be amazed at is the time that they take to give a scene to breathe and to resolve. And I'm thinking of like making juice and then sitting in the living room and deciding to play a game. That is a huge amount of screen time. Yeah. For what? So that we can get this sense of discomfort between Zosia and Carol. And we can start to energize. But the tension, the dramatic tension that is built by those long passages of time on screens, when we're very accustomed to fast cuts and vertical video and algorithmic flooding of our visual cortex, and we're just like and I guess some people on the internet are upset about the fact that they're taking their time. Whatever, that's not my world. I am just loving the fact that you can have two characters on a very expensive show sit and just be with each other. And then for Carol to be authentic about the fact that, I'm feeling awkward. I don't know what to say. And two human beings work it out. Let's play a game, right? Let's interact in something that,
right.
isn't this thing. I just really appreciate how they go about the pacing of the show in that way.
Well, at least one human being, right? You said two human beings.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Really physiologically, there are two human beings.
Yeah. It's curious. I will say for me, there are times that this show moves too slow. And it's for the reasons you described, because I'm so conditioned for a faster pace. And it's taken a lot of patience on my part to lean into the slower pacing of this show. But I move 200 miles an hour all the time. So it's kind of healthy to slow down. And it is just different than what we're used to consuming. So I hear your point, and I agree with you that it is like lovely to see.
I have a stack of books on my bedside table. I have a Kindle, and I sit down and I'll go to read, and like 2 pages in, I'm like, I want to look up this thing, or what time's the flight, or whatever. And then half an hour's gone. I'm on my phone and not in the book that I intended to read. So, I think it's interesting that they're doing that. I'm really interested in how the plurbs seem to be growing and how Carol seems to be growing. And, the fact that Zosia's teasing her, makes a pass at her, all of this kind of stuff. So I really like that it's not just a flat 2-dimensional sci-fi show. Aliens invade Earth, humans fight back. It is a complex and rich dynamic, and we're seeing characters, and the plurbs as a character, right, are growing. The fact that Manusos can threaten violence and they don't all shut down. Like they've actually they were able to resist a lockout, moment in there where they're going to, freak out. So it's great to see that there's character development and movement in the show. I really like that. And then the construction of the episode is interesting. Not only is it bookended with Manusos, right? We open up in Panama and then we end where he's driving to the border. But then they've thrown in this little homage. I don't know if you picked up on this. I didn't. I picked it up on our Discord, and then it's all over the Reddits. That the diner scene is almost a shot-for-shot remake of a David Lynch movie called Mulholland Drive, which is all about it. It's about a lot of things. It's a neo-noir, not absurdist, but fantastical thing that involves dreams and reality and the questioning the nature of reality and identity. And the scene in the diner, there are shots in the diner that are shot-for-shot comps to this movie.
That's cool. I haven't seen it, but it's on the list for sure. We're getting into a real David Lynch kick in our house. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's one of his later films. I surprisingly and sadly, it just missed it on my my Lynch watch list. So you can come for me. That's a fair call if you want to show up outside with pitchforks and or just angry emails. I won't dissuade you at being angry for me at that. But anyway, that the constructions of these episodes are just satisfying in that way. If you didn't know that Mulholland Drive was a movie, let alone that they recreated it, you don't miss anything in the show. But then for that deeper layer of digging, it's fun little Easter eggs, and just that they can play with genre and these homages to all these things is just fun. It's just a rich texture of a show. Yeah,
I like when shows do that. That like Agatha All Along did that as well, and that there were little Easter eggs about the universe that it lives in, that if you know, and if you don't, it doesn't change anything for you. We can still enjoy the show. I think that's a very great convention that people use. So
cool. All right. Anything else for you? Otherwise, we can jump into some feedback.
No, let's get into some feedback from last episode.
Sounds good. We got Stephen in the UK sent an email, said, I was watching Carol and it reminded me of how my friend talks to his voice assistant and makes prompts, obviously talking to an LLM. Then I thought of the different ways people see or interact with AI. Some reject it totally. Some embrace it. Some see it as human. There was even a case where somebody got married to one the other day. Some use it to augment their lives. Some talk to it like a computer.
Yeah.
AI is a connected hive mind full of information. Pluribus shows the different human reactions to basically a computer system, the plurbs.
Yeah. I talk to AI like a computer, like generative AI. I talk to it like a search engine, like a conversational search engine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But people are falling in love. They for sure are, and it can't be great. We use AI for therapeutic interventions too, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to say controversial, but it's curious. There's so many connections between the show and AI, and we're not sure if that was the intention or not, but they exist. Like we can't say it doesn't. Like it's very clear.
I'm giving a presentation late or mid to late January for my industry on uses of AI in our industry, both for business development and management, helping to write newsletters and writing business plans or reviewing legal documentation, stuff like that, as well as image manipulation, image generation. And something that came up recently, my industry is very technically involved, a lot of software and hardware things. And there was a case that I read about recently where somebody searched on the internet, got a malicious ad. So somebody paid to have a ad that had malicious instructions in it and a link. They went to that thinking it was ChatGPT. I'm not sure. I can't remember the exact translation, how they got from here to there, but got to an LLM that told them to basically unlock their computer. And so the hackers could come in and like take over the computer because they thought they were getting LLM instructions on how to fix a problem that they had there with their computer. Like, my disk is too full. How do I get rid of some of the stuff? And then the LLM said, do this and do that and open up these ports and install this software. And then that person's computer got owned.
Ugh, I have to do my cybersecurity training for work.
So, for doing a newsletter or, I use it a lot for writing to help me. I take my ideas and it helps me structure ideas and things like that. That's very different than giving me therapeutic advice about my mental health state or
it's tricky.
My computer.
The first iterations of generative AI would give really bad advice, and now they just refer you to outside services. Which is appropriate. In my field, in higher ed, AI is hugely talked about, and we're in a really tricky situation because our students know more than us, and they always will, just because of generational cohorts and differences.
Is there a generational theorem? Is there a information transmission theorem?
There is like that. Like they're
I'm joking about the podcast. I was just on with you.
I know. You were
about
just
music specifically.
Never mind the music. You popped on to talk about generational music theorem and how generations change over time in terms of their listening and their music production. But in terms of AI, for sure, for me to stand up in front of a class of 20-year-olds and explain to them how AI works is like not it. But what I often do is I'll like write lectures and do my own research and like prep my class material and then feed that into AI and say, write me multiple choice questions, write me an assessment using Bloom's taxonomy. And I have pretty guided prompts. And then I use it to do study guides and stuff like that.
And then you can check it based on your experience. And so it's not supplanting your knowledge or your experience. It's augmenting. It's an extra set of arms and hands.
Yeah, but we have had to change the way we do assessment. Like I can't say do a take-home test or write this reflective essay or write me an essay. It doesn't work because they just use AI. So we're calling it the return of the blue book. So, like scholars are calling it. So dumb. Right. Thanks for your feedback. We have another email from James in Vancouver. Hello from Vancouver, Canada. Discovered Lorehounds with Severance, and now I'm a Lorehounds addict. I really appreciate both the depth, seriousness of the discussion, as well as the fact that clearly the hosts are just having too much fun. I also appreciate the personal anecdotes you share that make me feel part of the group or family. The combo of watching the shows and then listening to podcasts enhance my experience 100-fold. That's nice to hear. He goes on, as a clinician and clinical researcher, consent and informed consent plays a large part of my professional life. My question is simple, and I do not believe that you have addressed it, but if so, my apologies. Why do Carol and the other 12 people have to provide consent to be, quote, converted, unquote, whereas the rest of the population of the world were not given a choice? Also, realistically, even if they didn't provide their consent, once converted, would they even be aware that this conversation was done without their consent? Is this consent idea really just a fallacy? Thanks so much and the rest of the Lorehounds for providing me with so much, from James. So I read James's email when it came in, and James, your credentials are out of control. Like, it was so impressive.
In the email signature, there's a list
like,
of
who
all his...
and then just made me again a reminder of how great our listenership is and how like the breadth of research and knowledge we have in our community is humbling. So for you to be asking with your credentials to be asking us about like consent, it's like you know consent, James. You're well aware. But it's an interesting point.
Yeah.
That. In this episode that we're talking about today, there were a lot of issues about consent in this episode. For me, it came up a lot when I was watching it. So how come consent matters in some places but not others is my question. But I agree. When those planes flew overhead and spewed these chemtrail seeds all over everybody, they didn't sign on to that.
Licking the donuts.
Yeah, licking the donuts. Like it was... If it's a biological imperative for them to spread, why is consent even part of the conversation if it's a biological imperative?
I think remember the hospital scene where the doctor kisses Carol, right? No consent there.
Yeah.
And he was just like, oh, somebody we missed. Like, we gotta join her. So the 12, was it 13 individuals? 12 individuals. No, oh my God, they're going to come for me.
It's 12. Yeah, there's 12 that are out there. Yeah.
That they're an anomaly to the biological imperative, right? The RNA sequence is only an RNA sequence. There's no information. We don't know anything about the Keplers. Mm-hmm. We don't know. There's no back and forth communication. There's no signal. The only signal from the mothership, quote unquote, is the RNA sequence, period, flat, nothing. So they're reacting in a biological instinct to spread this. So the unjoined are an anomaly. They don't know how to deal with them because there's no prior instruction for that. So then they're just going on, well, we want you to be happy, or for whatever, the reasons we want to keep you comfortable and happy, and that's part of our imperative as well. So they're just kind of dealing with it. And so now they're in a situation where, I guess now that you know that we're joined and you're not, we can't spontaneously do it anymore. Like it presented them a novel problem that they had to respond to, right? That's the only thing that I have in my head about consent or not.
And then you think of consent, we use the word consent about like, can I kiss you or not? Or is this okay? Right. But in research, we use the term in clinical settings, informed consent, that you're not only just saying, yes, it's okay. You've been briefed about what's going to happen and like what it means for you. So it's not just you're saying yes in an informed way with information. And that it's like express informed consent, that I've told you what I'm going to do. You know all the details. And you're okay with it. And they can't really offer that here. We're starting to see that in this episode, like more details about what life is like. So it's like, honestly, I felt like it was manipulating Carol towards a more informed consent, because she's saying, okay, I'm going to try sleeping on the floor with these plurbs. I'm going to try living a life with them. But the life that she's being presented with, I don't think is an appropriate representation. I think it's a manipulation, and we'll talk more about that later on today.
Right.
But James's point was really valid. Like the others, 7 billion less 12 weren't given a choice. So why is it so important to Carol and the others? So thanks for your email, James. It was awesome to hear.
And this is where I think the frame to address this in is the unjoined are an anomaly, a biological anomaly. And so they're doing the best that they can, making up the secondary rules.
I'll go with that. Yeah, that sounds fine. I'll take it.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, fine. Okay, we got to make sure they're happy, whatever. And so whatever, we can analyze the choices, but I think that's the frame for looking at the choices. Because there's no other information available to the plurbs other than a RNA sequence.
Yeah.
There's no other coded transmissions. There are no Death Star plans, nothing, right? It is just an RNA sequence that converted them. And she says so even later in the episode.
Right.
We know nothing about the Keplers.
Right. So, James, later on today, we're going to talk about mirror neurons. So when I get it wrong, can you write in and tell me what's right? Because I feel like very much like you're smarter than me. So.
Perfect segue into the collective research pool. And we, as the Plurb watchers, we have a follow-up voicemail from Panama regarding the Georgia O'Keeffe painting. So let's listen to that.
This is Panama reporting back from my attic on the Belladonna painting. Thanks for all your great points. I loved those. Agreed with all of them. I'll add to it. Here's the research that I found. The painting has to have some sort of meaning both to Carol and to the show. So for Carol, I think these two flowers in juxtaposition might reflect her and Helen's personalities, one more open, one more reserved. But it also might relate to like an individual. When do we present ourselves outwardly and when do we hold back? Like she did with her fans, and when she's at home, the difference between that, or now in this new world, how does she present herself to the unjoined versus the plurbs? These are contrasts that are reflected in the painting. The painting also is symbolic of Carol's journey, because when the painting was commissioned, the Dole Pineapple Company hired Georgia O'Keeffe to go to Hawaii and paint them a pineapple. And while she's there, she paints everything but pineapples. She paints this belladonna while she's there, which makes me think of how now Carol in this episode is all over the place, not focused on her mission to save humanity, but instead she is living it up, shooting golf and doing whatever.
Shooting golf.
So I think she is not focused on her objective anymore. I also think there is a Shakespeare thread we can pull here. With the theme of that, with the Montagues and the Capulets, I think there's some sort of correlation to what really makes people different on one side versus the other. We're examining that in the show. Is it better to be joined or not joined? Or what makes an individual different from another? And the choices we make, even in our fans, how do we react? What's the difference between us? Are we Montagues or Capulets? And then finally, with relation to Romeo and Juliet killing themselves with a belladonna plant because they can't be with each other anymore. That's why I think at the end, right before Zosia shows up and she's called them to her, she is staring at the painting and thinking maybe, what's the point of living if I don't have you? Anyways, that's what I came up with. I'm not sure if it's right or wrong unless I blurb with Vince Gilligan. But anyways, shoopy shoop shoop.
But no, I think you're a podcaster. Like, I think it just happened. Thanks so much for taking the time to report back to us. It's really committed and we appreciate you. I love that Romeo and Juliet. I'm really interested in those connections. I'd like to explore that more for sure.
And he was podcasting from a liminal space, from the attic, as opposed to, basement, attic. It's all, it all worked for the closet.
Closet. It's great for podcasting.
Exactly. Something that I think is interesting as well is if, like many, freeze framed the whiteboards as Carol was working on them. There are some screenshots about an elixir and a love potion and what was the fruit called? I've got it in the other. I posted some screenshots on the Discord for the channel for the thing. The Mandovian spice fruit. Mm-hmm. And so there's a bunch of stuff there The Shakespeare. Oh, she even writes on the board Shakespeare reference ! And there's a check mark of research to dos. Reread Twelfth Night. So we've got some definite overlap, and I think later we can talk about it a little later when after Zosia's read the first chapter. Some people on the Reddits have been thinking about how I'm not deep in the Reddits, just sort of catching strays here and there, but how the Waikaro stories and mythology relate to how the show is going to work. Like there's some blueprint structural stuff in there.
For sure. I've been saying that since they dropped that chapter. Like there is something here. And I think that revisiting the whiteboard beyond just, again, having whiteboard envy and, dry erase marker envy.
Imagine I have handwriting envy.
Oh my gosh. For sure.
So imagine controlled and organized.
If your marker didn't work and you could just make it like someone would just deliver a box of them to you. That's a teacher's dream. That's all I have ever wanted. Just like unlimited unfettered marker access.
My whiteboards are a mess because they're half-baked ideas. And
I love a crisp whiteboard. It's very satisfying.
You know what I started doing? Sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay.
I use little magnetic tiles, colored tiles.
Oh.
And then I write on them. They're like little rectangles or squares.
Yeah.
And then I can move them around into different positions. To do today, priority, recording this,
That's
watch
nice.
that. Yeah.
If it's a mess, a pro tip, teacher tip, is you can just use hand sanitizer to clean them. No one knows to do that. And that's
because sometimes they stay on there a long time. And then
and like the whiteboard spray, it's really stinky. So you just use hand sanitizer and it just cleans it right up. So Carol doesn't need it. She keeps things pretty crisp. Right. And I'm for sure thinking about this love potion situation. I think there's a lot of veiled references about love potions. And I'd like to talk about that towards the end of our episode, our scene by scene recap, because I think love is the key. I think it is.
Love,
I know, which is nice. Mark would be happy.
Yes, I just finished the anthology, the Beatles. My wife and I finished the Beatles anthology, which is that remake of the show. It was really good. It was really insightful. And
I'll have to check it out. It's on the list. I'm still into that Puffy.
I tried to get Mark interested, but I think he was just like, bro, I'm so stacked and racked right now.
Yeah, we're pretty slammed at this time of year. He'll want to do it, but it's
podcasting, a lot. Forget your day job. Just a podcast. Well, let's take a quick break, pay some bills, and then when we get back, we'll talk some meta topics. And we are back. So let's talk some broader meta topics. Just really quick on the official podcast. There, for this episode, there were a couple of embedded Easter eggs.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, there is a dial tone sequence, beep, 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 somebody dialing a phone. And then at the end, there's a Morse code signal.
Okay.
There is some singing, chanting that sounds like it comes from a cultural tradition from somewhere around the world. I couldn't easily identify it. I'm sure the Reddits have gone even further on it. And then there's a little signal underneath the sounds of the people singing. And so, those are intentional Easter eggs. The dial tone signals at the beginning translate into a phone number that you can call, and you get a message from Zosia. And then you can reply. You can hit 0, and the system will send you a text. And then it's like, Apple will send you text. Reply yes if you agree to the blah, blah, blah. And then it sends you a contact card for your phone for Pluribus with an unknown number. It's like you can add it to your contacts.
And then it asks you to unlock your computer.
Exactly. Right. And install the software. And then, so that was the dial tone. And then some people think that the Morse code might be the RNA sequence. And I didn't follow further to see if anybody's identified the singing that's going on. So fun little Easter eggs. One of our users, I believe it was Sub-Zero, posted in the general chat. It was Sub-Zero. that on their Roku screensaver, one of them is this like cityscape that sort of scrolls by, and on the movie theater that's there on the marquee, it says "Hello, Carol." So lots of fun little activations everywhere. A Google, like if you go to Google and do a Google search and you Google something about Pluribus, you get a little scroll bar at the top that says "Hello, Carol" or whatever. I mean, that was a while ago. So fun little activations all over the internet. So come onto the Discord and report if you find anything.
Please.
Like that. So, let's talk. Well, let's save this one. The idea that the joined need new things. Let's save that for the scene by scene, like when we get into it. And then I wanted to ask you. I didn't prep you on this, but I did want to ask you a little bit about the real world issue that we're dealing with right now, known as the loneliness epidemic.
The loneliness epidemic.
This idea that Carol is isolated for 40 days, which we'll talk about in a second, but that the loneliness epidemic is a real world thing that we're dealing with, which is part of why I think the show is so activating, because it's for people. Like, we're all responding to it in different ways. And I think one of the things it's just showing is the fact that there's a deep loneliness that we have in our culture, in at least in the industrialized cultures.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we've talked a little bit here about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I think that when you take those ideas and layer them onto this loneliness epidemic, it can provide us some clarity on why we need each other. And why, when we don't have social connection, things get kind of wonky for us as humans. So Maslow said that in order to reach self-actualization, which it means like, how I think of it is to be like the best version of you can be, you need to have your physiological needs met, your psychological needs met, your social and belonging needs met, your esteem needs met. And then once all those things are met, then you can become the best version of you. How I teach it, which is not relatable to my students, but will be relatable to our audience, is if you think about the original Nintendo Legends of Zelda game, right? I'm a fan. You might know that
I don't think I've ever played a single minute of Zelda.
What?
I mean, I remember when it came out, and I remember it being a thing here and there, but I think I aged above it already.
I do like comfort speed runs. Like, that's what I do to like melt. That's my flow state. It's just like speed runs of original Nintendo Zelda. There's someone out here that I'm.
Yeah, you have people. I have
people. It's a Star Trek Next Generation, Legends of Zelda, Love is Blind cohort, but they're here. If they're anywhere, they're here. So, okay, Maslow and Zelda. If that's what you come to the Lorehounds for. I'm sorry. I think I found my place. You know that there's an upgrade sword behind the waterfall, like up by the mountains. Like, you know that. But if you
Spoilers. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. You're comedy gold today. You are comedy gold today.
Please. So you have access to that screen. You can get there at the start of the game. I mean, you just have to traverse up to the mountains. But when you go there, they say you're not ready for this yet. So you have to get through at least level 5. You need like 5 heart containers or 6 heart containers to like get that sword, even though you know where it is. Okay. If you're still with me, let's look back at like Maslow. He said that we need our physiological needs met first. That's like food and water and sleeping and eating and going to the bathroom, right? And then we need our psychological needs met. We need to make sure that we feel mentally healthy. Then we need our love and belonging needs met, and also our esteem needs met. And a lot of people like flip-flop where those go in order, depending on where you're at. So
they're intimately connected, though.
They are. And like, what is love? Like, is love intimacy, and is intimacy physical intimacy? Like, what does that mean?
And your esteem as the way that you present yourself to potential mates.
Yeah.
Once I kind of got over some stuff for myself, my relationship quality changed radically, because I wasn't broken bird anymore. I was just like, oh, I'm just kind of dude, right?
And then then love becomes available to you.
100%.
Yeah. So that's the one that like is. I'll even say controversial now. Like, a lot of people think we shouldn't even be teaching mass love anymore, which I kind of agree with, but that's a different podcast.
Different.
I'll save that for never mind the music. Mark would be mad. But this esteem, love, intimacy, that all roots back to this loneliness epidemic. So if we don't have connection, either not just sexual connection, but like friendship and intimacy and like just human touch, really, according to this hierarchy of needs, you'll never be your best self. You can never get there. You can't jump over and just pick up the sword at the top of the waterfall. You have to do the work first. So our culture prevents us from getting there. Our culture promotes loneliness. And some could argue that maybe that's by design. Maybe we're more vulnerable when we're lonely and we're more open to manipulation when we're lonely. And I can't help but overlay some points about what would be like sociological conflict theory onto what's going on in Pluribus now. Like, she's so lonely and so thirsty for human connection and some level of intimacy, especially after these 40 days, that she'll take anything that comes to her. And Zosia's a catch. Right. Like, it's not like a compromise.
Yeah. They planned Zosia.
Right.
Zosia's a structured person that they knew that she would find
get her.
attractive.
And it seems like a manipulation and like indoctrination, manipulation, love bombing situation from my perspective. And it's yucky. That's what I think. So more on that later. But This loneliness epidemic, we're falling victim to it. We're feeling less connected interpersonally, and more like those lone icebergs floating around, and that just generally isn't healthy for humanity.
And phones and algorithms we're in the attention economy. The currency of the realm is your attention. And if they can lock you in, big tech can hold your attention. The longer they can hold the attention, the more money they can make. And the more that you're in your phone, the less that you're with other people.
Yeah. They're not selling product, they're selling you.
Yeah.
Your data. So
we were just out the other night. A friend of ours had a birthday. There's this old Elks Club that's been converted into this other sort of wellness community multi-space thing.
Nice.
And a good friend of ours, it was her birthday and she was having a lot of people there. And my daughter and I went, and it was a school night. So I was just like, okay, wife, you go and you do the whole party. You do the pre-drinks and then you come to this karaoke thing that's happening at this place. Daughter and I went there, got some dinner, hung out for a little bit, and then went home. And getting my daughter and I both out of the house at like 6:30 on Hanukkah school night, right? Was like, oh man, it's cold out. It's like, okay, well, it's our friend, so we're gonna go. And we went. And as my daughter and I, it was this ramen bar has a pop up there as well.
Oh my gosh, that sounds really amazing.
Good. It was awesome, and it's karaoke and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
whatever.
Fun.
In this old Elks Lodge. So we're eating our ramens and we look at each other and we're like, this is nice. It's not like we weren't the social butterflies. There were 75 people there, whatever was just going on, and we both just felt good.
Yeah,
by being out among other people.
Yeah.
And then we did our thing, we hung out, our friend came, the little party. Then we came home and went to sleep, blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, oh, wow. It's so easy to get trapped in your little bubble.
Yeah,
that it takes energy now to break out of your bubble.
It's also the time of year and it gets dark at like 2 p.m.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's tricky, but we do have to like push through sometimes because that social interaction is very enriching to us psychologically.
Totally. And we felt it. Both my daughter and I felt it. We were like, this is palpable.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Really quick, 40 days. So when Carol was in isolation, I believe technically it was a 40-day isolation, which is a really interesting thing. We didn't talk about it last episode, but bringing it around today. In the Bible, 40 days is a big deal. There's lots of periods of testing and change, floods, Jesus, Jonah, a whole bunch of stuff. And so in Judeo-Christian thought and tradition, there's this framework of trial and renewal. Islam also has a 40-day traditions, and whether they echoed or picked up from each other, but there's like 40-day retreats, and postpartum recovery is a 40-day window. Medieval port cities used 40 days as isolation for ships that were coming from endemic diseased areas, plague. That's where the word quarantine comes from. Because
that's cool.
That, with the plague, it was some other, they had 30 days and then the plague showed up, and the incubation for that was like around 37 days. So they pushed it to 40. And then it's like, oh, wait, does it make sense because of the Judeo-Christian thing? And then they were like, let's do 40 because the Bible, who knows?
Sorry to laugh, but your delivery was funny because of the Bible.
Because Bible. And then, so not only is 40 days long enough for a lot of illnesses to show up, but it's also, you could speak to this a little bit more about habit forming and deep change that becomes a little bit stronger in behavioral patterns and habits.
Yeah.
And then we have this just narrative signaling, right? Somebody throws out 40 days. It's got all of this rich structural history around the world. And now it becomes a narrative shorthand in a way, just like the seasons do. Like, oh, the winter of your life, or the fall, or the springtime of your life, right? Of course, equatorial people live in the equators are like, what is this fall and winter stuff? Anyway. So it just becomes this narrative shorthand. So Carol goes through this period of isolation and deconstruction, and then this rebirth, and now she comes forward again. So there's just a nice little narrative structure thrown in there.
Yeah, and I think that we can overlay Manusos' religious grounding, the grounding of his moral compass and religion, to this 40-day piece too. There's a lot of different threads that are being followed in terms of like a rebirth, origin story, religious-based, like redawning of civilization, even. You could get that far. And I think that 40 days is just enough to let the audience know, like, this is important to notice. They could have picked any number of days. So I'm eager to see if that becomes more obtuse as we go through, or if it just becomes this like subtle nod to just spirituality in general.
Right. And clever writing, right? Yeah. Human beings, a diverse group of people in a room, breaking story and then writing script based, and then embedding and layering all of this stuff and playing the what if games, using their whiteboards to go, oh, it should be 40 days because Bible.
And we can make all these because Bible. We can make all these connections. That's cool.
Something interesting that just occurred to me as you mentioned Manusos, he burns his car. He's burning the ships. When they, the foreign ships show up on the shores and the men are like, the crew are like, F this, we want to go back. And the captain burns the ships and you're committed now.
Yeah.
Right. So, or some people say throwing your hat over a fence, right? You got to go get it. So he burns his car in a narrative signaling like, there's no going back. I am only going forward. There's no retreat here.
I actually clocked that he was burning his car so they couldn't get his DNA.
Oh, he's like that.
That's like what I thought. It was more like but I've been watching a lot of true crime stuff. So maybe I looked at it more like a forensic thing.
Well,
like
they got his blood now because at the start of the episode, we see some blood dropping on the floor. So.
And they collected it, I think, at the beginning of the
It was on the dude's Crocs.
Oh, on his Crocs. Okay. I thought it was like a microscope slide or something.
I think it was just dropped. It was dripping down.
I don't trust him. I don't trust him with that blood, that's for sure.
Real quick, let's talk about human electromagnetic fields.
Just real quick.
Real quick. There's a couple of electromagnetic fields. There's your brain has one and your heart has one. Your brain one isn't measurable unless you attach some really sensitive equipment to it. With the heart's EM field is actually detectable from a few feet away. And there is evidence that groups and individuals can synchronize their EM. There is some degree of research that says that this is true, and that this sort of passive regulation. You sort of fall into sync with people that you're around. However, the fields are weak; the effects aren't necessarily consistent. So then you open up this idea. Okay, so how are the plurbs communicating? How far is the radio sequence? Like, is it detecting people in space? Like, can people in the space station talk to the people on Earth. It seems like there's a lot of distance and there's probably a lot of gaps. Like, where did she say the guy who got hurt on the fence was in?
Like in South America or something.
No, it was in Europe I don't remember the country. So like, how do you get the gap of the ocean, right? How is this? So there's some fun ideas in there, and there's a sci-fi element to the show, right? So at some point there is a sci-fi conceit, but the fact that we do have a weak electromagnetic field, both cranial and cardiac, and that those are measurable, and there is some degree of synchronization. And if you can modulate a signal, then you can send information in that modulation. Morse code is modulation of a signal.
There have been some studies that show that a human's electromagnetic field can be mapped back to their emotional state in terms of like what it looks like. So you can see body scans of someone that's happy or sad or angry or pensive, and their electromagnetic field changes. And, even more casually, we can just say we feel it as vibes. If someone is nervous, you'll feel nervous. And that is because of this, and also because of mirror neurons. And I know we're going to
look at you, segue. Look at that segue. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'm a professor. It's really happening. So beyond this electromagnetic and magnetic energy that we put forth, we also have things in our brains that allow us to feel what other people are feeling, and not in a Deanna Troi telepathy sort of way, but in like, it's very, very tangible. So researchers first observed this. They were doing brain scans on primates like monkeys to determine something. I don't know what. It's irrelevant. And they had the monkeys hooked up to these fancy brain machines that you spoke of before that measure our brain signals and measure our neural activity. And then they took a break, and the monkeys were still hooked up, and the researchers started eating their lunch. Then they looked at the screens and realized the monkey's part of the brain that activates when the monkey's eating lunch was activated by the monkeys watching the researchers eat their lunch.
Whoa.
And they were like,
what a moment.
Right? It was just like this thing that they found. And that led to further research on mirror neurons. So what mirror neurons do is if you see someone happy, you'll feel happy. If you see someone angry, you'll feel angry. So we have different mirror systems. The parietal frontal mirror system are where these mirror neurons are activated in our parietal lobe, which is like the middle of our brain, and our frontal lobe, which is obviously the front part of our brain. Our frontal lobe helps us regulate decision making, and our parietal lobe helps us make sense of the world around us, like the input of our senses almost. So when we see neuron activity in that system, it helps us understand intentions behind human movement, and also leads us to cognitive empathy. Mirror neurons was a strong connection to empathy. And we have two different forms of empathy. As humans, we have cognitive empathy that just allows us to understand what a person's motivations are. We also have affective empathy, which helps us feel how other people feel. So this affective empathy is rooted in the neuron activity in our limbic system, which is in like the middle of our brain, with our hippocampus and our amygdala and all the things that make us truly us. It's a Nichole point of view. And that leads us to affective empathy. This means that most mirror neurons care about not just like the physical mechanics of an action, but people's motivation. And that helps us understand why people do the things they do and lead us to a greater understanding of human empathy. Now, another interesting point about mirror neurons, and I'm not sure it's relevant to Pluribus, but it's just like a really interesting fact, is that we talk about, everything I just said is under the understanding that you don't really have a lot of neurodivergencies in your presentation, that you're more neuronormative, which is kind of loaded, but we're just going to go with that term here.
Wait, you, me, or you as
just like in general? Like when you talk about like the general, how mirror neurons work, you're assuming that you are
This is the default framework construction.
Yes, this is like the statistical normal of human brains. Folks that are outliers to that statistical normal we'll call neurodivergent. So there are several areas of neurodivergencies. People on the autism spectrum have less mirror neuron activity than a statistically, quote, so loaded, but normal brain. Which makes sense. If you work with kids that are autistic or kids that have autism, you know that they don't understand human emotion in the same way, right? That they won't understand why people's behaviors are the way they are. They need it like verbally explained, and that's fine, right? We'll explain it. We also know that folks, I think ADHD is a spectrum, but folks that live with ADHD have a far more mirror neuron activity than the norm. So that which is super interesting. So that might explain why folks with ADHD might be more sensitive to people's emotions.
Empathetic.
And empathetic.
I've noticed that there's a taking on of the energy in the room. Whereas you may not. Exactly. Yeah. More readily, right?
Yes.
Being more,
and it's easy, right? While a kid with autism might need it explained and like very obtusely explained to them, and that's okay, right? So we think about these like neurodivergencies as outliers, but really there's a lot of superpower that's within these quote diagnoses that
it's much more common than we actually.
It's so much more common. So even to say they're outliers or they're divergent, like is kind of almost outdated language.
Yeah, we were at a school, all school sing. Our school gets together. All parents and caregivers and adults in kids' lives can all come in the gymnasium, and the choir sings and the band plays, and we just do a community gathering event. And I noticed the other day the number of kids who are wearing some kind of ear protection was like, whoa. In my day, we never would have had that. And it's just a recognition that these different kinds of sensitivities and neurodivergences are not as divergent as the word divergent would lead us to believe. It's a lot more common. I was just struck. So many kids wearing headphones.
And when we think about neurodivergencies and autism and mirror neurons, I need to shout out a podcast not in our network. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's fine.
You need to check out the telepathy tapes. It's a podcast that
I'm looking it up right now.
It's so fascinating and offers such a different perspective on folks on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum, because now, because of technology, a lot of nonverbal kids are able to communicate through like iPads and other devices. And in that communication, we're learning that it sounds so cavalier to say, but they're telepathic. Like they're reading minds of people. And now they're saying things on the AACs, the devices, like, I'm in here. Like, I know that we have chips in the pantry. You're hiding them from me. Like, I know that you are, to their parents and things. And that's so cavalier to say it that way. But they took this information and started doing experimental research and testing this theory and proving that kids with autism are telepathic. It's wild. So
telepathic or mirroring, right? There's so take this into a wildlife frame real quick. Mammalian terrestrial wildlife, just to be specific for Mark's purposes. There's always been a question of how do pack animals hunt.
Right.
If they do not have verbalized communication, how does a pride of lions hunt? Mm-hmm. In a coordinated fashion where there'll be an ambush, there'll be other ones that flush the prey, et cetera, et cetera. Because their brains have the same sort of structural, at least in their case, it's probably structural. Yeah. Right? There's a degree of learned behavior and there's a degree of structural stuff going on. So telepathy in the sense of I can read your thoughts from a Dr. X standpoint versus whatever all the nonverbal cues that are being built up.
No, I'm telling you, dude, this is Dr. X. What's happening with these kids?
Okay.
You need to listen to this podcast. It's a game changer. It's a game changer for how we address this population.
Interesting.
Yes, 1,000,000%. Like,
okay.
It feels like sci-fi, but it's backed in pretty reliable and valid research. So
okay.
check it out.
I am mirroring your. I'm taking on your authoritative stance on this one.
I'm sure if you've listeners, if you've checked out the telepathy tapes, prove me right. Write in on Discord.
Right,
Send us some
exactly.
emails, because it's a game changer for sure.
Come for me.
So we've gotten off topic.
But what? But everything's
weird.
But I think it's interesting. So when we look at that in the frame of the show, mirror neurons, how do the plurbs work? How do they communicate through these, electromagnetic fields? Carol's responses after being 40 days isolated and needing just other human physiology, and that our brains really need that. We're not using a part of ourselves when there's a part of our brain that's not being activated when we're not around other human beings.
Right.
It's an important part of our psychology is you don't have to interact with people, but you need to be around people.
And mirror neurons, it is like you need to be around other people. It's not just watching the Golden Girls or reading books. Like you need them in front of you.
Right.
For the most part. Yeah.
Fascinating.
It is.
Fun. Okay. Well, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we can get into our scene by scene, because it's only been an hour into the podcast so far.
Probably should.
And we're back. Episode 8, Charm Offensive. We've got a 43-minute runtime. These are really tight episodes, man.
Yeah.
They cook through them. Melissa Bernstein is the director and written by Johnny Gomez. Nancy puts in a fun fact for us that Melissa Bernstein is another Vince Gilligan favorite. She was an executive producer of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And she was also an executive producer of the second season of House of the Dragon. A fun quote that Nancy pulled: Bernstein, while working with House of the Dragon showrunner Ryan Condal, often referenced the ethos that she subscribed to during her tenure with Gilligan. Quote, whether there's dragons or whether you're in high medieval times, it is still about human nature. My focus was to make sure that scenes, arcs, and storylines rang true in terms of who we are as people and our experience on this planet. That's really, for me, what makes a story work.
Nice. I love that. I never watched House of the Dragon, but I should.
Well, we will be covering season 3 when it comes back later this year.
Season 3. Oh, man. I got to get going.
And apparently Johnny Gomez was also somebody who rose ranks within the Vince Gilligan extended crime family. Both of these people have been around, but changed and evolved. So if you listen to Official Pod, they have a bunch of conversations with both of these folks. So
yeah, they like to keep it in the family there, in the Vince Gilligan family.
But they bring people in, and then once you're in, you're plurbed, and you're is that a verb now?
We're conjugating plurb in a lot of different ways.
100%. All right, let's jump down to Panama with scene 1, Manusos. And thank you again, Nancy, for all the work that you do, that you save us.
She's awesome.
She breaks down the scenes for us. She collects all of your feedback and puts it into usable forms that we can then assemble for our recording outline. So, Nancy, thank you so much. And I know your community really appreciates you as much as we do. So, Manusos wakes in Panama in a hospital. The infection he got from being impaled on the chunga palm is responding to antibiotics, but he needs time to regain his strength. He uses a scalpel to force the doctor, I'm putting that around quotes because I don't know, maybe this guy was a computer programmer, who knows? Forces the doctor to let him leave. He wants to know how much he owes, and he won't accept hearing that he owes them nothing because there were real people who were there before. He signs an IOU on the itemized billing record, stumbles out of the hospital, and climbs into an ambulance, and drives away.
Manusos is awesome.
He is really, it's interesting to see the reactions around, not only on our Discord, but in the internet in general.
Yeah.
Some people love him. Some people struggle with him.
I think he's trying on the character of being like a hard out, like a tough guy. And he's just not. He's just not. But he's like, I'm going to slice him with the scalpel. It's like, we know you're not gonna, buddy. Like, here's your receipt. Like, we'll print it for you. It's just so kind. I just think he's a good human. He's at least in the top 12 humans that are currently human on the show. So,
well, Jean, one of our other co-hosts and regulars on the Lorehounds, had a comment on the Discord. Manusos demands to know how much he owes because everything costs. He's right to say that to the hive-minded. Wanting an itemized bill and writing an IOU, I wanted to throw my sneakers at the dude. Go back to the Darien Gap and kick all the rocks there.
Buddy, Jean's cranky this season. Like everyone's kicking rocks.
Yeah, exactly.
First it was Carol. Who is he into? Maybe no one. That's okay. You don't have to. I do wonder if they took his stem cells though. Like he was maybe it's my stuff creeping in about like medical trauma. We don't have to talk about it. But like when you're like in a hospital and you're unconscious, like they could do anything. They could be doing anything to you. Yeah. And that, I think about that. They probably didn't because he didn't have informed consent maybe, but they could have, right? So
or they could take it and prepare it and then say, hey, we have it if you want it.
No, like, don't worry. We grabbed that for you when you were unconscious. Yeah. So like
here's a grenade. Right? Like we're anticipating your needs. Yeah.
Right. So I also want to just call back. We're not going to dive into mirror neurons again, but he came out of the hospital room ready to, with this little scalpel, to like take this guy hostage, and notice that the plurbs didn't react.
Yes.
They didn't escalate. They just talked. They just were mellow and gave him what he needed, and he immediately regulated. He immediately was like, oh, this isn't like a threatening environment. I don't need to show force. They're going to comply. So he read the room, and because their nervous system is so uniform and they may not even have one, we haven't discussed that, his regulated and got away from this fight or flight and said, okay, I don't need to fight. We can just have this transaction and I can just go about my business. So I just wanted to call back to how the energy in the room affects us. And that's not just like a hippy dippy thing to say. Like it actually is rooted in our neurophysiology, which is very, very cool.
And I do love the smiles on the join's face. And they're like, oh, it would cost this. Here's the item. Do you require this? I just love that the plurb sensibility can be extended to any group of background artists that they get involved in the show. It's so lovely and so fun to see, the extreme circumstance of danger here. And they're like, chill, dude.
Well, because it isn't an extreme like he would be very easy to overtake in that situation. It wouldn't be a hard thing to do. He's weak and doesn't even have underwear on.
What a trippy opening, and the trippy opening with Carol as well. The cinematography, the angles, it really puts us into a, whoa, what's going on here? And signaling. I think it's great signaling that there's a horror, the underlying horror of this whole situation still is present.
Right.
Regardless of the fact that Manusos was, had to be airlifted out and is under heavy sedation and whatnot. Balboas are the currency of Panama. They were brought in 1904 for their independence. And it's a 1-to-1. That's why she says it's this or that as the same amount, is because the Balboas are pegged to the US dollar at a 1-to-1, and they're both legal currency in Panama. Two other quick notes. She's holding a little carton of milk or a little plastic bottle of HDP.
Oh, gosh.
The woman who prints out the receipt for him. And then I just love how clever Manusos is. Taking an ambulance, smartest thing he could have done.
Yeah, because he has all the stuff he needs.
100%. Yeah.
And it was just like access to, like, that's what was available to him. But I guess there were probably other cars. It makes sense.
But it makes sense.
Right.
It just goes to his mindset of how clever this guy is.
It's a survivor, for sure.
100%.
So then scene 2. Can I read it?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
you can.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
I just wanted, I know you said you had been busy earlier today, so I wanted to drive the bus as much as
I appreciate that.
I'm mirroring your, neural condition and trying to support you.
Yeah, it's very, very forward.
We're just like pushing this too far. We just leave that one out.
So scene 2, we're calling awkwardness because it was. Carol makes up a picture of juice for Zosia. They sit awkwardly in the front room. Zosia notices the George O'Keeffe print or painting, and Carol makes up a story about wanting to keep it safe from wandering wolves and buffalo. It's like, all right. Carol admits she doesn't know what to talk about, and Zosia suggests they play a board game. And at the end, they played the card game Spit from Carol's childhood.
Just wanted, before we get into it too, I just wanted to go back. Thank you, Banamana, for all the research that you did.
Oh my
I thought
gosh.
that was very cool and very fun. And you've added a lot to the show this season. So thank you for, I hope you're having, I assume you're having fun as well. So I can imagine my neurons are imagining you having fun.
So for me, Carol was so eager to please her, and it was like she was trying to apologize without actually apologizing. And I wish Zosia simply would have said, "We forgive you." But maybe they don't forgive her. But that's what the whole scene was. It was so awkward for me because all that had to be said was, "Hey, I'm sorry for that. I regret it." And she couldn't. And I thought that was really telling of her character. And also the fact that we saw an airplane in the scene towards the end of it when she goes outside was cool. And it made me second guess a lot. I was like, oh, do they know that the airplane's there? Like, did they not edit that out? But of course they know it's there.
They know it's there.
Of course they do. They know everything's there. Oh, yeah. So,
and later in the scene, as they get some wide shots, there are multiple planes in the air.
Oh my God. What are they doing?
They're coming back to Albuquerque.
Oh, right. Okay. That makes sense. Thanks. Yeah, that makes sense.
Which brings up this really interesting question, which Cincinnati Joe chimes in on. It's surprising how much effort the Hive put into making Carol happy, even the early episodes when she's still reconnecting with Zosia. I didn't expect them to bring everyone back to Albuquerque since there doesn't seem to be really a need for that. By the end, it seems like they're even running a pretend radio station for her to listen to. Because she's listening to the radio station when she's cooking. So the question is, why are they coming back to Albuquerque? What's in Albuquerque that's important?
Where are all their cars? They drove all their cars out.
Well, I'm sure we saw them in the diner scene. I mean, at Carol's house, we just see the airplanes flying by. So we're assuming that they're all coming in.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't like it. More
trippy openings with the juice after the blood. What's going on here? There was a really interesting part of the couch scene where Carol and Zosia are sitting apart from each other. The way that they lit Carol, again, nothing unintentional in the show, and this is my decoding, Carol's head is in shadow, her chest is in light, the light coming in from the outside, from the window. Her head is in darkness, her heart is in light.
Oh.
So that, we're getting the visual coding that she's, I'm awkward, I don't know how to deal with it, but her heart is somewhere else. And so light and shadow are used a lot obviously in visual storytelling to indicate all kinds of stuff. And so that was my decoding, but it's really apparent. I'm like, why is her head in darkness? Why is her face in darkness? Oh, it's because her head is clouded, but her heart is not, in terms of her relationship to the plurbs and Zosia specifically. There was the setup when they were playing Spit. There was a setup for Bree, which she says to him, do you want your cousin Henry to come visit you? That is a nice little script trigger so that when Bree shows up in the waitress in the coffee shop later, like we're already prepared for the fact that they can bring anybody back that they want. And we know that, but it's reinforced in that. And it's just one little throwaway line. So good. Like they just attend to the details in this show. Yeah. So incredible. And then of course, Trash Joan.
Of course.
Beautiful shot of Trash Joan over the Bentley or the Rolls Royce there.
I think they would have cleaned that up by now, Yeah, they're gonna power wash out front. Like while you got that going, while you have the crews out there fixing up the house. Like, don't you want your drone back? It's funny because it's a bit, but it just is getting more and more unbelievable that they wouldn't have just fixed it.
Yeah. I love it though. It's
for
great
sure.
For us.
It's great for us.
And then just Carol's vulnerability here that that moment of when you have to say, when you're working through something with somebody else, that it's a relationship that's meaningful in some way. And you have to be vulnerable, and the courage that it takes to be vulnerable, even with people you love.
Yeah.
And even today something happened and I was like, I was mad. And then I had to go back and I go, okay, sorry about that. Let's unpack what happened. What was going on with you? What was going on with me?
Yeah.
Let's figure it out. It's hard to do that. It's hard. It's really hard to do it, but it's a habit that you can form. And I think the thing is that if we continue to work on the idea that imagining other people complexly, then we've all experienced embarrassment. We've all experienced discomfort around other people. And we have to assume that people will understand. If they're if there's no bad intention there, then people can understand.
We're typically only showing other people about 10% of what's really going on with us. And sometimes it's really easy for us to understand other people's motivations and behaviors. But sometimes you'll never know. Like, you can never know everything about everybody, even if it's people you're very close with, unless you're plurbed. And then it becomes a lot easier.
Right. And so we have to speak, right? We have to communicate.
Yeah. And that can be challenging because maybe you never learned how to do that,
Do you want to read the scene, or do you want me to?
Sure, I can read it. I'm on a roll. We're going on to scene 3. Where do the pluribus go? The plurbi.
The plurbum.
Carol asks where Zosia goes when she leaves, and Zosia explains that there's no such thing as ownership anymore or private property. And then she offers to show Carol where they sleep. And I jumped out of my chair. I was like, finally. What's happening with them? Zosia takes her to a large event center where a large number of the joined are settling into sleep on the floor of an ice rink. The pet question is answered by the appearance of a dog who has followed his owner. Carol asks if she wants to sleep there. She says no, but then is seen waking up beside Zosia, her arm wrapped around her. In the morning, Zosia takes Carol back home. Carol admits she had a nice time. And then inside her office, we get to see the whiteboard. Carol adds to her board a line that counters her confession of having enjoyed herself with Zosia. They eat people. Right.
Lots of
great scene.
The density, the information, the nutritional density of this scene was incredible.
And it's so interesting because we're looking at things from Carol's perspective, that these plurbs are secretive and malicious. But whenever you ask them, they're like, oh yeah, this is what we do. And it's never like salacious. It's just like so practical or alleged from their assumption practical. I'm going to say again, sleeping on the floor of the ice rink without mattresses. I was like, this poor woman, this poor old lady is being helped down. She don't even have like a pad on the ground. It's like a concrete floor. There's no way her back feels good when she wakes up. There's no way. Right. And we're all dealing with that. Everyone's feeling her broken back.
Right.
So I was frustrated with that. There's a better way.
There is a better way. It was interesting to see some of them were kind of cuddled up. They had an arm. Somebody would have an arm over somebody else's shoulder or what have you, but others were not. So it was really interesting how it all worked. And then we now know that pets, other mammals are not joined in the same way. So
thank goodness. I was really hoping that dog would go home with her.
That was totally in my notes. I was wondering if Bear Jordan was going to join the cast.
Bear Jordan, where's he at?
Yeah.
And he brought her the shoe, and the other guy, the old guy, didn't care. He was like, whatever, I don't care about this dog. It's just following me around.
It's all good.
I don't know. I want Carol to have a pet. I think that would be better than Zosia, love bombing her and manipulating her with her narcissism.
Exactly.
Just get her a puppy.
And the endorphin release of just like looking at your pet and lovingly and
we love serotonin from dogs and cats. We need that.
Exactly. What did I call it? Did I say serotonin or what did I say?
Endorphin.
It's endorphins. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's close enough.
I meant serotonin was the one.
But endorphins are there too.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's fine. We did learn a lot in the scene, but nothing really that was that shocking. It was just confirming a lot of what we thought already, which is nice to have that confirmation. It gives us faith as an audience that we have the right idea,
I loved the line. Again, the show is so deeply funny. She's like, oh, it's not going to turn into the orgy scene from The Matrix. And Zosia's, well, do you want it to? Do you want that? And Carol's like, whoa, slow down.
No.
And then Zosia's look away. It was like, she's like, oh, wait, sorry.
I don't know.
So funny. It's just a funny show.
It's a funny show because there's just these little like deadpan jokes that kind of just tickle me in a funny way. I also thought it was weird that she said she was going to go home to sleep, but she didn't go home to sleep. And then when she woke up next to Zosia, it was like she was surprised that she was there. I thought, did she black out for a minute? That was my first thought. Did they drug her or something? But I'm growing suspicious of the plurbs.
Right.
But she woke up with a start, almost like, what happened?
Right.
You know?
Right. She fell into the spell, right? Sometimes that happens. You're in a group and you just kind of go with it.
I don't know. It would take a lot to get me to sleep on the floor. I'd be like, well, yeah, I don't mind staying with you, but can we go to a hotel? Anything but this. And then it was even weird to me after that Zosia went home with her. Like, why?
Yeah.
I think they're just trying to keep their eye on Carol.
Well, yeah, as we learn later.
Yeah.
Right.
So she stays off topic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't like it.
And that's the funny thing is I found it visually beautiful. The cuddle pile was just okay. Like, it didn't creep me out. I was more like, this is beautiful. This is kind. Here's the people helping each other. Yeah. The visual of it, the top-down shots, or the symmetry of movement as people are moving through the space and settling down and doing these things. The show continues to enamor me from that standpoint, so I'm not creeped out by the straight up creepy stuff that other people are really responding to. So, again, it's really interesting.
They're nodding back to humanity, with this. You call it a cuddle pile. I like a cuddle puddle. I think that's
cuddle puddle.
A fun way to say it. But that we still do have this need for human touch and interaction.
Right.
And it might be physiological, right? It might not be emotional. We just need it to function properly. And we do. Some more than others, but for the most part, we do.
Which is interesting why some were touching each other and some were not, with their arm over each other. Maybe that individual needed that. And maybe that individual's physiology or brain science or whatever sleeps more soundly when there's a physical touch.
And then we can even map back to when we were talking about Maslow and his hierarchy of needs that, love and intimacy is on that list of things we need before we can ascend to our best self. And one of the common counter arguments to that theory is that some people don't need intimacy. Some people don't need love. They don't want it, right? It feels like a burden to them for a variety of reasons. So we're seeing that referenced in these plurbs that some need it and some don't. There is still some level of individuality here. And it's in there. And we see that in later scenes with Zosia, that her individuality is still in there. And she's kind of surprised to uncover it.
That's interesting. Yeah. That the not neurodivergence in the sense of different mental constructs, but just in our divergence in our individual physiologies.
Right. Exactly.
Where we're 99.9999% the same, but these little tiny variations are very surface apparent. I like a hand on my shoulder when I'm sleeping as opposed to not. Like, I need to...
I want to be in the cuddle puddle, or no, thank you, don't touch me when I'm sleeping.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll get into some more detective work that's going on both sides of this equation. And we're back. Let's go into the next scene, which is actually a bunch of scenes sort of all welded together. Nancy has titled this Fact-Finding. Over the course, Carol learns about Zosia and the joined, but meanwhile, the joined are actually learning about Carol as well. While hiking with Zosia, they see a train. Carol has never told anyone that she loved the sound of train horns. And in this interaction, Carol learns that the joined can't know information she has never shared with them unless she shared it with somebody prior. Sorry, that's a stumbled way to say that. The joined communicate using the body's electromagnetic field. It's an unconscious communication akin to breathing. She talks about homeostasis. Carol apparently has the same ability, but it's not being used. She has the potential, but it's not being used. And then the joined are using trains to transport food. At least that's what Zosia says. A lie of omission possibly here.
Well,
right?
it might be transporting food, but it's probably dead bodies.
Right. Well, it is might be transporting other things. Like there's a little bit of something there. And then, sorry, go ahead. What?
I was just saying it's gross. That's all. Sorry to talk over you.
Carol and Zosia visit a spa for massages. Carol gets a better understanding of the hive mind versus an individual. Carol learns that for the joined, to know everything all at once would be unbearable. I think it would be to feel things. I'm going to put a separation between knowing and feeling, right?
Yeah.
That there, I think, are two sides here. That's me injecting commentary back to Nancy's notes, but they know things as they happen. For example, the man who has an accident in Bulgaria, where it was, births and deaths, etc. Carol and Zosia are then at a park, which we'll talk about in a second. She looks through a telescope for the planet Kepler 22b in the constellation of Cygnus. While it's not apparent what this means, Zosia says that they will never know the people of Kepler 22b because they're too far away, but they love them and are grateful to them. The joined plan to pay it forward, however long that takes, that they have to share the gift with whomever else might be out there, and that they're building a giant antenna and will use up the power of the world to send the signal to space, which looping us back to episode 1, where we had a bunch of people speculating on that. I've got a bunch of fun astrology facts. We can talk about Cygnus and Kepler 22 and 22b, but what did you think of this group of scenes? Like, just take it anywhere you want.
I think that, we were struggling between Zosia's individuality and the fact that she still is very connected to the hive, right? When she seems so genuinely interested in this one-on-one interaction with Carol, that when they're hiking, it seems so like a lovely little day date. And then you remember, oh, right, they eat people. And oh, right, she can control the brain. Well, not she can't control, but she's connected to the brain of the train driver. And that can be like, it was a cute romantic gesture to have her like have them honk the train horn. But it wasn't cute. It was creepy and weird because it reminds Carol that, oh, you're an alien, right? Like, you're not an individual. So they're trying. And same for the massages. It seemed interesting from the Zosia perspective. Again, I'm sorry to keep going back to it, but this woman, this plurb, just doesn't really value personal comfort and indulgence. She's sleeping on the floor of a hockey rink. So to say, like, I'm going to indulge in a massage, it was really for Carol that she was doing it. She wasn't doing it for herself. It was so Carol would have company, which is a nice gesture, but it's a manipulation. So Carol can feel like she's on a date and romantic and love bombing her, kind of falling in love. Same with the observatory. Zosia knows all of this stuff already, and she just wants Carol to have the experience of it so they can have a connection with each other. And Carol seems to be forgetting that a connection with Zosia is not individual, it is a connection with all of them. And she's putting herself in a very vulnerable position, being so folksy with the plurb.
You've triggered a thought in me now, which is, okay, the plurbs are suspicious of Carol. I wouldn't say suspicious, but they're monitoring her, right? And they want to make sure that they're what's going on. But later, when she reveals that she's writing again and they're all really excited, and this opens up this whole conversation of the plurbs don't have anything new. Everything's placid. Yeah. Somebody made a joke about this, like, sort of being in heaven where everything is just, we use the word homeostatic, right? It's homeostasis. Like, everything's dynamically in balance, where there's nothing changing and it's forever this thing. And so when they get something new, wholly new and original, it is exciting for them. And so they're actually love bombing her to try to give themselves pleasure. They're very pleasure oriented, right? They're open to pleasurable experiences.
Yeah, they're open to knowledge and like novel experiences. And I think that maybe for some of them, pleasure is a novel experience. I mean, when we look at Diabate, what he's doing, and if we're going on the theory that he was of a lower social status before the joining, and now he's able to indulge in pleasurable experiences. I know he's not a plurb, but we are seeing that as a theme throughout the show, that allowing personal pleasure is new for some people. And that's where we might be leaning in here for some of the plurbs. Like maybe some of the plurbs never got individualistic pleasure in their life because of their social status or socioeconomic status or whatever. So maybe Zosia as an individual never got a massage like that in a spa, right? And now some part of her is still in there finding pleasure in it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like this idea too that I'm thinking about, is that they're cultivating her. Whoa, we're lucky we have a writer who can think of new novel thoughts. Let's cultivate that. And that's a food source for us, not a food source, but you know what I mean? Like it's an input for them. And if they can cultivate her to do that, manipulate her into doing that, that makes them feel good. Right. So, and you want to encourage that.
Yeah, but they blow it later on. They do.
They do, right. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll definitely get there. I thought it was interesting that the work on the whiteboard on the Wakaro story, if you go back to earlier screenshots of the whiteboard, like when you first see it, the number of Wakaro notes has changed in between then and now. So she's done work on she's been thinking about Wakaro in the interim 40 days.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting that during the massage we see Zosia's scar. Yeah. They make a point of us seeing it. It's like right there in frame. And then later when she wakes up in the morning after, again, we see the scar. So, you know, nothing unintentional here, just noting it. And I want to highlight the difference between knowing things and feeling things. If they were to feel everything, that would be unbearable. But to know things intellectually, I guess this would go into types of memory and experience, like you've talked about this before.
It really talks back about like the difference between cognitive empathy and affective empathy. Again, cognitive empathy is just understanding. You're crying, you must be sad right now. I know what it feels like to be sad. I can quantify it.
But I'm in control of my emotional state, and I'm not breaking down with you, because you triggered a full response for me.
And that's what the plurbs are displaying. Carol has a high level of affective empathy. She's on the other side of the spectrum, that if she feels with people, which is kind of lovely, right? But she doesn't.
That's how she interacted with her fans at the bookstore,
right? She like mirrors them, and it must be very hard for someone with Carol's empathetic presentation to not have anyone to really mirror off of. And you can see that when Zosia starts giving her love, she mirrors that, right? But she falls right into the pattern because she's really connected to people affectively based on emotion and less cognitively. She doesn't take the beat to think it through. She doesn't take a beat to understand how someone else might be feeling in that moment. She just feels it with them, which I think is an interesting layer to this. If we want to talk about mirror neurons and empathetic processing, that it must be very hard for someone with a high level of affective empathy to be in a world that no one is showing genuine individual emotions.
Interesting. So that really draws a highlighter over her experience of trauma, losing her partner, her wife. That, you know, for a lot of us, when we choose to monogamously partner up, that our partners oftentimes fill in the gaps for us in our lives, or balance us out in different ways, or provide things, emotional regulation or stability, or, you know, and maybe some of us who like to be, you know, there are things that I like to provide my wife that I know that help and benefit her. And so that makes me feel good about our relationship. And she does the same for me. Yeah,
it's like a healthy codependence that you do need each other to be full, and that it takes time to establish those rhythms in a relationship. And I think that Helen and Carol did have that time. And now what we're seeing with Zosia is Zosia holds the knowledge to fast track her relationship with Carol because she is Helen.
Oh, that's so good.
So she knows just what to do because she has Helen's, they don't have a first date. First dates don't exist here because she is her wife. So she can just be that person. And and I think that Carol's denying that. Like she doesn't, she doesn't want to admit it. Like maybe she doesn't love Zosia. She loves Helen, who's inside there.
And who's not an active presence inside there, but the memories are there to inform the
trial and error exists. We know how to get Carol. Because we did it already.
No, that just opens up the manipulative factor of the plurbs. I hadn't been thinking about that at all.
That's all I've been thinking about. Is that and I'm waiting to say it. Like that's why it's so gross, because it's not novel. It's not like a new, fresh romance. She knows exactly what to do. And
that's what dating is all about, is learning each other to the point that you can, if that's a goal that you have for yourself, to be in any kind, whatever, a committed relationship is the trial and error. And then if you do get married, your relationship is in this construct, because there are times when you're just like, oh man, how did this person is driving me nutso, right? And that's going to happen the entire course of a marriage. It's not blissful forever, right? We're people, we're weird. We have a lot of
it's peaks and valleys.
And valleys, the unassumed getting married. When we had our ceremony, what worked for us was to go, okay, well, let's stop. What do we really want out of this night for this ceremony? What's important? And I was like, okay, well, there's people travel from all over because they're there for the kiss, right? The moment. And then everything else, that was my point of view on it. And my wife was like, well, I just want to hang out with my friends and listen to the music and eat the food that make us all happy and join. So we broke down the ceremony to and put together what we wanted that worked for us. But during that process, there were so many hidden assumptions that were coming out of both of our heads that we didn't know were there until we were confronted with that situation. So that then we had to work it out. So our relationship was in that moment, or becoming a parent. All this unpacking of, this is how my parents did it. Right. And I'm having this weird response. I don't feel like I'm me here in the moment. I feel like this is coming out of me. Where did it come from? We're weird. We are layered with stuff. And so they can, like you said, they can short circuit all of that because it's already there.
And Zosia, in this episode, you have to note the change in their tone and their affect and their vibe. Much more folksy, much more like
making fun of.
I'm gonna kick your ass. You suck, Carol, like on the board, that kind of thing, which is so funny. Right. And that's definitely a shift. It's a realignment in strategy than what they were doing before, of just giving her whatever she wanted. They've learned about Carol that she wants to work for it more. She wants the puzzle to solve, so they're giving her the puzzle to solve because that's what she needs to assimilate, right? So Zosia took the 40 days and established a new schema around how to approach getting Carol. And it's not just giving her everything she wants, it's being her wife. Because that's what she wants. Dude.
You just
solved Pluribus.
You just solved Pluribus. You win the internet today.
Maybe.
Let's quickly talk about the Rio Rancho Sky Room Campus Park. That is a piece of functional architecture and community gathering space that is actually available to the community. You can have picnics and stuff there. So it's just a cool ass piece of architecture that they found. It was right near the hockey rink where they were filming. So they got into that. Let's talk about Kepler 22b. So first, it's not part of, Kepler is not part of the Cygnus constellation, but the Cygnus constellation helps frame it. It's the stars within that. That's how you find Kepler. Cygnus is the Swan constellation. It's also nicknamed the Northern Cross. This is a bunch of research that Nancy did, and then I did some research on Kepler. And the mythology of Cygnus tells of the story, and this may or may not be relevant, the Greek mythology aspect But the mythology of Cygnus tells the story of Zeus, who changed into the form of a swan to entice Queen Leda. From their union came the twins Castor and Pollux, which are the bright stars of the constellation Gemini, the twins. So take that for what you want. Decode what you want out of that. Cool stuff, nonetheless. Kepler-22 is a G-type star. This is internet research that I did, so take that for what it's worth. It's very similar to the sun, but a little bit cooler and a little less luminous. And it is 600 light years away from Earth, give or take. Kepler-22b, the planet, orbits the sun at 0.81 astronomical units. So 1 astronomical unit is the distance from our Earth to our sun, because we're first person energy, we measure things relative to our point of view. And so it's just slightly closer, and it takes about 290 days to complete an orbit. It has a radius that's two times Earth's, and its mass is around 9 Earth masses. So it's a super Earth. It's a much bigger planet than us. It is the first exoplanet confirmed by the Kepler mission, and it orbits within the habitable zone of a sun-like star that they figured out, like if you're too close, it's Goldilocks zone is what they literally call it, the Goldilocks zone. Cool. If you're too close, it's too hot, too much radiation, too far away, not enough for liquid water to exist or other chemicals, even though we know about extremophile creatures, things that live around thermal vents in the ocean and whatnot. So there are definite ranges within what we call a habitable zone, but that's a important framework for us to understand, is there life elsewhere?
Right.
And that if we find planets in the Goldilocks zone, the probability of life jumps much higher.
So all this to say, it checks out.
Yes. SETI Alpha 5 checks out.
Okay. Perfect.
For those who know, though, they know. They just heard that. They Star Trek reference. Star Trek movie. So cool that they, human writers did the research and they figured out a place where this could plausibly come from. Right. So, and just a fun set of details. And
it is cool.
It'll be important if it's important. If it's not, it's not, right? It's just a factoid.
Well, I like that it makes sense. Like it isn't a fabrication. And I think that in the show that we do have to take this kind of sci-fi leap of faith in some aspects. They are kind of grounding in real science, like known science, to provide these explanations.
It makes the show richer and funner.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
Yeah.
I think so too.
And it makes me go, okay, this is not an LLM writing this. These are human writers who are having fun making these connections that only they can make. Ken wrote in an email. Ken W., longtime friend of the pod, subscriber. Hello, gang. How are the joined not spying on the whiteboard?
I feel like they're 100% spying on the whiteboard. If they can track Manusos through the Dorian Gap to see him pass out and then helicopter in, they have eyes on that whiteboard.
Right. Somebody across the town, right, with a super telescope.
They have eyes on that whiteboard. And I think that they're using that information to monitor Carol's distraction level. Like and they know what she knows about them because they've told her. So it's not like a secret.
Right.
When she's doing research. Like,
this is great.
Giving her information.
Cold War spy type stuff. What do they know? We know that they know that we know that they know.
They know everything. Yeah. They know literally everything that exists for knowledge. And that's why they're so eager for more information, because it's probably pretty effing boring.
Exactly. Right? You want to take us into scene 5?
Sure. Scene 5, we're calling Muscle Memory, How to Play Croquet and of How to Write. The joined think Carol might be writing a new book and are excited to read something new. While playing croquet, Carol tries to understand who the joined might be, and are they able to share muscle memory? This shows a sense of humor by suggesting Carol just might suck at the game.
This is Nancy's writing.
Nancy's writing.
I love it.
The message is repeated on the scoreboard, which I think is hilarious. Zosia asks when Carol was happiest writing. So we're trying to get Carol writing again as a distraction. The scene was great. It was very endearing. And they've learned what Carol's formula is for a good time. She likes a low-level physical activity, golf or hike, then followed by something a little bit more indulgent, like hot springs, spa treatment, indulgent trip to a diner. They know her formula because
you're blowing my mind here. They have it down.
They have it.
Because they showed us that in prior episodes. Mm-hmm. What her preferences are
when
in
she
this
could do
episode.
Anything she wanted. Yeah.
All of these activities are her preferred
Yeah. No, they figured it out.
Again, my mind has been on other details in the show, so this is super cool. This is very fun. Jean had a comment, another one. Jean was on fire this episode. No more books, no more movies, no more songs, no more paintings, no more art. This is the price for utopia. And even the hive-minded are finding themselves bored. How very human.
Oof. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're just resorting to psychological manipulation for entertainment. Bringing us to scene 6, we're calling Manipulative Charm Offensive. I support that titling. The joined recreate the restaurant where Carol first begins to write. They even have the waitress who served Carol during those times. The whole experience, while at first makes Carol happy, ends up upsetting her and she leaves. Zosia comes home to see if Carol is okay. Carol tries to get her to stop using third person, which Zosia has trouble doing. Carol is upset that Bree's life was upended so that she could come to Albuquerque and recreate her role as a waitress at the restaurant. She accuses Zosia and the joined of trying to distract Carol and manipulate her into giving up. Zosia admits it's true. Zosia kisses Carol, and Carol passionately kisses back. In the morning, Zosia wakes up to find Carol has written a new chapter of the White Caro series, and Raban is now a female character. This scene was so gross to me. It really really disturbed me. It really, really did. When
the diner recreation,
all of it,
kissing, the whole
all
thing.
of it was just so manipulative. And we talk about how the joined are trying to conserve resources, but they're using a lot of resources to support this charm offensive,
right?
And like rebuilding diners, not to say like transporting
rebuilding
people.
A diner,
right,
from scratch to the exact detail.
It just seemed really, really gross. And I think Carol saw that too. And then when they get back to the house and Zosia tries to make it right and she can't, what she resorts to doing is just kind of giving her, and without express consent, kissing her.
What is it called? The confirmed, ongoing, continuous something? I remember a number of years ago there was when it became a thing in
levels
college.
Of consent. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's got to be ongoing, and
And it's just she doesn't know what else to do. She's like grasping at straws, so she just grabs her and kisses her. It seems so violating to me. I don't know, because Carol's so vulnerable. She's gone through so much. She's very easy to manipulate in this time of trauma and this desire for connection. And to do that just seemed like you were exploiting the situation in a way that was yucky to me, minimal. So that's how I felt about it. I know that there was consent implied. Carol does kiss her back and really falls into this love bombing indoctrination piece. And I felt bad for Carol. I felt like she was totally manipulated and exploited, and in a way that it just didn't sit right with me, kind of at all. So,
let me ask you this. Were you expecting this to, were you shipping them? Were you expecting them to get together some point in this episode?
You knew that they would. You knew that that's what was going to
happen. Just from a TV writing standpoint.
We knew that from the first time they met, because she was designed for that.
Right. And then we get confirmation in the truth telling videotape.
Right. We knew that Zosia was manufactured to get Carol. From
so
episode 1. Well, that's what it is. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So, like, she was plucked from all of the individuals to be the one that looked most like her mom, that was most relatable, like, to be of that image.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she fell for it. And that annoys me because she's smarter than that, but she's vulnerable.
And the charm offensive really worked, and it worked until it didn't.
Right.
And it was the Bree of it all that triggered her. If Bree had not shown up, and all episode long, they're like, oh, let's turn off the lights. Let's give you a train whistle. Let's throw in all of these tiny little details. So when Bree shows up, the moment Carol says Bree, I'm like, where's Bree? She's going to step into frame here any minute now. And boom, there she was.
Yeah, they took it too far.
If they had not brought Bree into it, it would have been a nice nostalgia trip, and it would have not been gross.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the interesting thing, again, not having watched Mulholland Drive, but what I read about it and understand it is part of it deals with what is real and what is not real. And in this moment, in this shot for shot, recreation, Carol confronts the reality of this is not real.
Yeah.
This is, the cars are buzzing around outside. People are paying with money. They mentioned that in the official podcast, that the couple that's at the till when they walk in has money. There's sirens in the background. You can hear like a police or an ambulance siren in the background sound. So they're recreating all that. And the moment she leaves, it all comes to a halt. It comes screeching literally to a halt.
And she, on some level, had to have been confronted that we saw Diabati's presentation of having this like unfettered resources as being like really self-indulgent. And isn't this recreation of the diner and recreating this perfect writing environment for Carol, doesn't that hold the same level of self-indulgence, just playing to a different person?
Yeah.
Right. And maybe that is a realization moment for her. They're like, oh shit, like they got me too.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm complicit, like Diabate is complicit.
But she didn't turn around. She got swept away with
easy
passion. To
be so, especially after you've had 40 days of isolation and you've been missing this, and it suddenly seems all normal and natural. So the creep factor just went up for me by like 1,000 thinking about that. I've been like, oh, they're nice, they're gentle, they're whatever. This is creepy as.
But like it can be both. It just depends on how you frame it. Like
100%.
If what Carol wants is the companionship of Helen, like she's got it now, and that's nice, and she's leaning into that.
And it brings up the question of what romantic gestures are given in good faith that then end up being a creepy experience for another person.
Right. Well, it's this hindsight bias we exhibit, especially in relationships. Like I look back to like my first romantic relationships, and at the time they were lovely, but now I look back, I'm like, oh gosh, no, that was not it. Right. And
when we as boys grew up with Pepe Le Pew and Hawkeye on MASH or whatever as male role models, these, womanizing characters where we take what we want as opposed to, hey, that's another person over there that I need to respect and have a conversation with. And then that's different than, I don't want to recreate Pepe Le Pew, the skunk's kissing noises. But that was like straight up sexual assault.
No, 1,000,000%. And another
and
thing,
we were every day in the morning before school watching cartoons,
just before school. It's part of your secondary education.
Yeah.
Something that rubbed me the wrong way with this scene when I realized that Carol was just being manipulated to be distracted is Zosia was priming her for more information from the book and like saying like, is this going to happen next? And Carol was like, yeah, that's what's going to happen next. And that defeats the purpose of her writing a book, because as soon as Zosia understands what's going to happen in the plot of the White Carol book,
right, then it's not surprising anymore.
Then it's not surprising anymore, and then everybody knows. So why even have her write the book? You have the plot. You don't even need to read it.
And then you have a billion minds in there to work through the calculations of the storyline. Yeah,
right. So like.
All the podcasters in the world that are plurbed are all doing this right now.
Everyone, like the Reddit's just now in your head.
Exactly, super Reddit.
Right? So what's the point of writing it? And the point is just to keep her off the scent and keep her distracted while they figure out how to assimilate her.
Man, they got me so good. I was so romantically
they're in love.
For it.
They're in love. They're making omelets. There's mango ice cream. Like, who cares? It's a trick.
Let me ask you this. Is there a place in your past that physically doesn't exist anymore that you would, if you could, have recreated for you?
Oh, wow.
I have one.
Know. I don't think I have any. I also am blessed with a very bad memory.
Okay, fair enough.
So I don't really remember things.
Well,
you know what? I think that I'll say my grandmother. I've been thinking about my grandmother a lot lately. I loved her a lot, and around the holidays it comes up. She had this pool in her apartment complex we would go to all the time, and that time and place with her pulling Oreo cookies out of a very specific purse and feeding them to me and my sister. It's a very nostalgic memory. And while I'm sure that physical space exists, the aura around it doesn't anymore. So I would recreate that specific moment.
Got it.
Yeah. What about you?
The Last Exit coffee shop in Seattle, Washington, in the University District. There was this coffee shop that was just epic from, this thrown forward from the 60s, these marble tables that they had lined on the outside that had come from other buildings, the big round tables in the middle spaces that had all been the spools for big electrical cables. So these ginormous wooden round tables that had been, rolled up with cables, and you could smoke and you could get a pot of tea for $1.15. So I'd get chamomile peppermint, in the afternoon because I didn't want to be up all night and have an espresso or something. And they had sandwiches, alfalfa, sprout things, this and that. And they'd open mic night. And the outer tables were no smoking tables, but the inner tables were smoking tables, which is ridiculous because everybody who walks into the place is smoking, even if what you want to or not. And we were there. We would close that place down regularly, and you just roll in. You wouldn't even make a plan to meet people. You just show up. And people would be there, and you just sit down and you start talking, you play chess, you do your homework, college time, or you just hang out and talk. It was epic. Yeah. And the university bought the land and bulldozed the building. They tried to move it, and it was just never itself ever again. So
yeah, I think you're reminding me of a lot of, that same vibe. There was a place called the Someday Cafe in Somerville. Same exact place, but just on the East Coast.
Right.
There's a coffee shop I used to work at that was really formative for me for years. It was this independent coffee shop in Boston South End called Francesca's, if you know it, right in.
Shout out to
and it was just a lovely community and a really nice place. And then Cafe Nero bought it, and now it's just a brand. And I actually had a dream about Francesca's last night. I'm just remembering it in this conversation.
Our icebergs are...
Something's happening. I think we're plurbing. Are we doing it?
Exactly. We're plurbing. I love the conjugation.
But yeah, I don't want to go back.
No, I don't. Right. Yeah.
It would be sad. And that's what Carol felt in this coffee shop.
Right. If you're in that moment, whereas Diabate's fantasy is a fantasy he never lived. He saw it in a movie and he wanted to recreate it. Whereas if we went back to our pasts, that's Carol's past. Yeah. That was never Diabate's past.
Interesting.
So good. Couple of quick notes. Carol, we really see Carol managing her emotions. She gets upset and then brings herself down. So I love it. Character growth, right? We're actually seeing real character growth going on for her. And I wondered, is that water in her glass when she was drinking on the porch, or if that, because she pours a proper drink later.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, maybe if she's drinking water and in controlling her emotions a little bit,
maybe there's something she's regulating. She's learning. Yeah. She's learning.
I just want to make a funny or a note about how funny it was how they dealt with the pronoun question.
Right.
Because those of us who grow up in a different way and we're learning, hey, people want to be responded to this way. That's great. I want to respect you as a person. And stumbling over pronouns is funny sometimes. It's human nature funny stuff when we're trying to deal with it. So we're not making fun of somebody, but we're laughing about, we've got to change in this way that we never expected to change before.
And they handled it really well in a nod to that, the phenomena that we're experiencing now with naming conventions and pronouns. And the best thing to do is just to correct yourselves and move forward, right?
Exactly.
Not over-explain and just say, sorry,
yep,
I got it wrong, and move forward.
Oops.
I think that was really modeling good behavior.
Yeah.
Because I'll call you whatever you want. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me.
It was sweet. It was a very funny little...
It was sweet.
Yeah.
And humanizing to Zosia in a way. And we'll see more of that in the next scene.
Right. A couple last tiny points. For a best-selling author, she has the world's shittiest printer. I'm sorry, get a laser printer, Carol, because if you're printing words by the volume, my wife is finishing her PhD. I was like, why do we have an inkjet? It's so expensive. Anyway, get a better printer, Carol. And then I just loved watching two nerds get into it. Just like, oh, but this, oh, but no, the caves, oh, the compass, of course. Like I loved being a lorehound. That's what we do, right?
But and it's not two nerds. It's one nerd and then 7 billion nerds.
They're fair enough. Fair enough.
You're getting getting swept up.
I am. I'm completely. They got me. 100%. All right. Jessica says, I feel like Zosia may be playing Carol.
Yeah. Me and Jessica. Jessica gets it.
Having her use I, telling her about herself, initiating the kiss without being asked because she knew Carol would rather her do that. Oh, such good insight. But it's so hard to tell. So like Jessica gets me here on this. But also I want to think about that they can be interested in learning new things about Carol and reading the new book because otherwise they know everything in the world about everything. And so everyone new stimulus is nice, enrichment for their enclosure. So this idea that they are devoid of anything new.
Right.
And when something new comes up, even though they could grok it instantly and spread it instantly, in that moment, there's a joy. 7 billion people around the earth had a joyful moment in realizing it was the caves and the time compass that could stitch it all together. All right, let's take our last break of the episode, and then when we come back, we'll finish up the scene by scene and close out the app. And we're back. Do you want to take us into this next scene? Is this our last scene?
This is our last
scene.
So after 20 additional days, Carol and Zosia appear to have settled into a domestic routine. Carol gets from Zosia more information about her childhood life. Zosia's telling Carol that she is about to have a visitor. Manusos is just shy of 30 kilometers from the U.S.-Mexico border. A little aside here, I feel like it's taking him a long time. Like, how long does it take to drive? Okay. He's been using...
I did map the distance between El Paso and Albuquerque. It's about 4 hours. He was 30 miles south of the border, so call it 4-ish hours.
It's been 20 days. Okay. He's been...
Well, we don't know how long he was out. And Panama, driving from Panama. I didn't.
All right.
I did not map that. I apologize.
All right.
I was falling down.
I'll continue on. He has been using supplies from the ambulance to treat his wounds on his back. He's such a survivor. We love fans of Manusos. He's getting it done. In this scene, we start to see Carol and Zosia fall in love, and Zosia remembers her individuality with some prying from Carol. And I'm going back to the whiteboard when it says love potion on the whiteboard.
Yes.
And then these Romeo and Juliet type of themes, right? And I think love can tap into Zosia's individuality and she's remembering it. And she's remembering it not like in a data mining sense, like, oh, this individual named Zosia likes mango ice cream. It feels so intimate to her with this memory recall, like lights are being turned on inside of her as she recalls these memories. And I think that that's important. This tapping back, can emotionally calling up these individual memories reignite her own individuality.
Right.
I think that I'm sure that there's something there. I'm sure of it.
There's been some fun theories being kicked around, like, will Carol isolate Zosia to break her electromagnetic connection with the others and try to bust her out of the hive or something like that? Even if you did break her out, if she got in contact again, would it resynchronize her? We don't know, but people are having fun with the ideas.
Yeah, it's like in Stranger Things when they take Will to like the shack and... So
I don't.
Okay,
I don't know. I don't know what season, and I don't know anything. So that's an earlier season.
It's an earlier one, and they like remind him of who he is, his individuality. So whatever, intersectional stuff, but whatever is fine. What do you think about this scene?
Couple of little notes. She was listening to the radio when she was washing up at the sink. I didn't finish my research. I got distracted. I wanted to read about Miles Davis, the song All of You. Any music heads out there? Mark, Phenomena, somebody? Tell us about the Miles Davis song All of You. I feel like I'm talking to the LLM. Like I'm putting a prompt on an audio prompt into the space. Anyway, there's a reflection of Helen in the window there with both of them on the inside. Us looking in with Helen reflected. So just a great metaphor for our minds and how memory works and our connectivity. And this sense of other and together, just beautifully visually. Like whether they intended that or not, it was just a simple visual metaphor that works beautifully. Do you put milk in your eggs? Very important question. A little bit of fat in your eggs is always good for cooking.
I put butter.
Same thing, same function.
Yeah.
And you can't burn it. You got to keep the heat very low. Don't burn your eggs. That is a bad thing.
I agree. Noted.
Zosia says that when she was a child, watching the ships go out and buying mango ice cream, she says the city name as Gdansk, which is in Poland. It's not Morocco. Don't know what that's about. Nothing unintentional. I put that on our Discord. Cincinnati Joe was like, yeah, but this, that, or the other thing. And it's like, I just felt like he was popping my my detective sleuthing ideas. I mean, you brought up absolutely valid points. And I was just like, oh.
I thought it was going to be more.
I caught something. Anyway. Anyway, interesting there. Did she move from Poland to a child? Was she accessing other memories that mango ice cream wasn't hers? But she likes mango ice cream anyway as the individual. Like she pauses for a minute there, working it out. So was she mapping that memory or was that an honest memory from that individual?
How interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought of it. It felt to me like it was an honest memory of the individual Zosia and what she liked. But the geography is challenge.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I was like, wait, Gdansk. And I was like, that's not Morocco. And sure enough, it's not. And I think the last thing, just a tiny little note about Manusos, he's parked under an overpass, which means they can't see from above what he's doing.
Wow.
He's using the overpass as eye in the sky coverage.
I'm obsessed with him. I need him to show up and metaphorically slap Carol across the face and break her from this spell that she's under.
So I won't say anything, but if you, on the Apple TV app, it shows a thumbnail of the next episode with a short description. So when you're trying to bring the episode up, if you want no spoilers, look, I kind of don't like that. Anyway.
Look elsewhere.
It's not a he shows up cliffhanger.
Good.
I think we get a whole episode with him is my expectation.
This is what I need. I'd be really disappointed in the show.
If they cut it right there. Ding dong. Yeah, he's at the door and credits roll.
Yeah.
So, all right, we've got some other feedback about this scene and then just broad level feedback. So let's zip through that. Do you want to read the message from the TCS?
Sure. The TCS writes, if the plurbs are driven by making or seeing the unjoined happy, then Carol switching Raban to a female character would fill them to joy because it would fill Carol and Helen with joy. My recollection is that Helen thought Carol. Harold.
Got it. Yeah, no, I got it.
Okay. I'm starting over. My recollection is that Helen thought Carol should say who Raban really was, but Carol wasn't ready. So this rewrite is Carol's coming out to the world. I can only imagine how powerful that was for her. Even if she knows the plurbs know, there's a really big deal for her emotionally, and it must have thrilled Helen, who might be the lead mind in the hive for this. Carol gets a delighted reaction from Zosia after a childhood where her parents tried to convert her and then leading life as a closeted adult. It's just so emotionally powerful. This must have been such a fantastic moment for Carol. She better get herself back to the they eat people note after that kind of exchange. Yes, I agree.
Totally.
1,000,000%.
And that's what's so lovely about this show is when you start to unpack it and you realize the sinister underneath the sweet, right? It's creepy and beautiful simultaneously.
Right.
So I love it. The Reader Reborn, Cincinnati Joe, Rocky Zim, some others. Oh, this is a summarized comment. In the scene of Zosia recounting, this is a plurb comment. In the scene of Zosia recounting her childhood memories, is Carol trying to make Zosia's body or mind feel more individual, breaking the spell of the joined, and emphasizing again that Zosia is an I rather than a we. So what is Carol's manipulation of the individual formerly known as Zosia and trying to box her in and seeing if she can, because she says point blank, I am on the case and you guys know that. So stop distracting me, but I am not letting go. You can charm me and we can live together and it's lovely, but I'm not stopping. So she's manipulating Zosia as much as Zosia's manipulating her.
Because if this RNA is a virus, right, maybe the antidote for the virus is love and like the neurotransmitters and endocrine things that happen as a result of love. Maybe that would like cure the virus.
Interesting construct, because the whole marketing campaign is the world's most unhappy person has to save the world thing. So kind of a fun twist then to say, okay, her journey is that she needs to learn love and she's unhappy. She can't be loved.
Because we've already learned that anger makes them sicker.
Yes.
So maybe love can make them healthy.
Interesting.
Ugh,
all right. Jean, Jean was on fire on this episode. Manusos' journey is a hopeful one. He's hoping to connect with Carol to undo the state of affairs and return Earth to its rightful inhabitants. There are so many leads that I could follow. He's taking a route. So he's just sort of making the general comment, and then he's got a specific comment. He's taking a route that real-life migrants trek and die on to reach a better place. But once they get to that place, they're told you don't belong here and are literally labeled alien. Man, this is his words. Man, listen, whether intentional or not, I respect this show for making me think of this.
Yeah.
It's like totally true, right? He's south of the border. He goes through the Darien Gap. South American migrants coming up have to go through that place on foot. It's, I didn't even, until I read Jean's comment, I didn't even think about that as well. Just the decoding layers of meaning that are in here that are just implicit without even being intentional, whether they were or not. So,
no, thanks for writing, and your feedback's been awesome this week, bud. Thank you.
Let's finish up. We've got some more general comments. Do you want to read Peter OH's?
Peter OH77 says, in the old world, there were 8 billion bodies and 8 billion souls. An individual was one body plus one soul, and every individual has equal value. Sure. In the new world, there are 8 billion bodies, but only one soul. So does one plurb body has to have the same value as an unjoined person? You could look at the plurbs as one entity, but with 8 billion bodies. I think the plurbs would say that because they are on another level intellectually, they are more valuable than the unjoined, kind of like how humankind feels about animals. It's an interesting perspective.
I jokingly posted a GIF of a bong, somebody taking a bong hit after he wrote this, because I felt like I was on the college dorm floor.
For sure.
Like, dude, no, you're making me think.
I mean, Sub-Zero also goes on. It keeps on that vibe. I get the vibe that the hive mind considers the unjoined to be a lower state of being, unenlightened, less evolved, suboptimal, however you want to phrase it. Kind of reminds me of the Dominion from Star Trek's Deep Space Nine in terms of their views on the Great Link being a higher level of existence. Of course, the Dominion are polar opposites from the Pluribus hive in terms of executing their objectives. If you've been listening, you know my Star Trek knowledge begins and ends with the Next Generation, so you'll have to educate me about the Dominion.
Well, they're violent and aggressive and not nice. Not nice people.
Oh, that doesn't sound pleasant at all. No.
Yeah, no, they want to take over and rule.
Like Borgie, kind of?
They're Borgie, but they're not biomechanical. They're just regular biological people, and they have allies. So the whole thing of Deep Space Nine, I'm having to contact the hive mind in my own brain to remember what the Dominion was. But yeah, they're the big bad that's on the other side of the wormhole in Deep Space Nine, and they want to take over. And so, which is funny. What I love about the show is that it subverts the whole paradigm, or subverts the whole trope of alien invasion and dominance are bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
These are nice bad guys, right? They're on the surface, they're doing all this nice stuff as opposed to coming in with spaceships and, taking over by violence. So,
well, right. Physical violence, they're taking over by emotional violence.
Oh, yes, that is true.
So, which one's worse?
You're right. You're right.
Should I go on reading more
feedback?
Sure,
if you want. Yeah, you're on a roll.
Marcus S. posits a theory. The purpose of the, quote, join virus, unquote, is to preserve life by culling and neutering any technologically advanced species. Once a civilization is advanced enough to destroy itself or to cause mass extinction, it's also advanced enough to detect the signal, decode it, and become infected by it. After being infected, that civilization stops all violence and all deliberate destruction of nature. Because they can't even kill a fruit, their population will quickly crash down to the size that can no longer threaten the planet's ecosystem. And it goes on to say, I think this is my favorite episode by far. Clearly, it's on my mind. That's a good point.
There's a theory and I can't name it, and I'm only just dimly aware of it. But there's a theory in astroscience, extraterrestrial, whatever, is there life out there stuff that posits that the reason why we're not in contact with any other sentient species is that there is a self-destruct limit. So when a population gets to a certain size, then of course, this is human-centric theorizing here, right? We have no idea what the biological nature of other things. We as a Homo sapiens sapiens, there were other humans, there were other Homo sapiens on this planet with us. They're no longer with us anymore. What did we do to extirpate them? So this is a very human-centric theory, but there is a theory out there about when populations get to a point, the reason we're not in contact with them is because they've destroyed themselves. So this is a really fun twist on that theory, which is it neuters, it stops intergalactic destruction horizontally,
right?
Because you get to the point where you can't do that any longer.
And
I think it's a really clever interpretation. Super interesting.
Well, a lot of other folks in our community agree with this theory. More feedback from Zatoichi. Zatoichi. I'm so sorry every time. They send out the signal to deal with societies that have advanced enough technology to detect it so that it slows them down so they can't explore space, kind of like eliminating the competition. It's not good for anyone but themselves, really. It's not for the good of anyone but themselves, really. So that kind of mirrors that earlier perspective for sure. Yeah.
I'd love, again, opening up a prompt to the plurbed mind. If anybody knows about that theory that I was talking about, send in a report, a voicemail or an email. We would love to hear your thoughts on that, along with consent and writing historical romance or anything else, because we didn't hear from Carol this week. But
gosh,
there was funny. Some folks on the Discord were like, "That's my new friend."
Yeah, join us.
You should. I said to that person, you should record in a voicemail talking to the other side of the community. So you guys can do that. You guys can talk to each other and we'll be your mouthpieces for you. All right, let's wrap it up. Feedback, pluribus @thelorehounds.com. Again, emails or voicemail. Nancy is on the other end of that email and will gladly work with you if anything needs to be done. But definitely give a shout out to Nancy if you do communicate with her. And thank her for all her efforts and work. She is having a fun time. She loves this, guys. This is her. She wanted to do this, so we're the beneficiary of her goodwill.
Yes.
And this, for her, is a fun activity to deconstruct the show and write the notes for us. We profusely thank her every time she does stuff like this.
Oh my gosh. She's a treasure. She's a national treasure of Canada.
Exactly. Link in the show notes for everything. Let's talk about what's going on the network. What's happening with Nevermind the Music? Do you have a mailbag coming up, right?
We have a mailbag coming up, and we're also both on break from our day job. So we've been recording nonstop. Well, not nonstop, but we recorded for a couple of days this week, just banking episodes to get us through to our spring break. So we have a Heim episode coming out soon.
Ooh, I'm definitely going to listen to that.
It's so good.
Because I know nothing about Heim other than their three sisters. And
yes. So we talk about other family bands. We're talking about Shaggy and It Wasn't Me, and then also like problematic protagonists in songs. So lots of cool content coming up on the Nevermind the Music feed. Please check it out.
Awesome.
Follow us on Discord, engage with us. We want to hear from you guys for sure. So
I've downloaded a couple of episodes, but I banked them for the Christmas break so that I've got content to listen to while we're traveling and stuff like that. So.
Our newest one is about Oasis and birth order theory, and it's a pretty cool nod to that like time and place of music if you're into
which is interesting because the episode that I was on about generational music theorem, which is how generations pass music to each other.
Yeah, that's cool.
Alicia's podcast, Will Shift Dust, I believe they've got some Frankenstein stuff out and a big thing on Christmas Carol. Alicia does these really fun projects every year, and they're it's kind of like Groundhog Day in the sense of watching all the Christmas Carol stuff. So go check out her podcast. Again, link in the show notes. Properly Howard. They're going to be back very soon. Anthony's been busy with a Song of I forget whatever book in the Jar Jar Martin House Game of Thrones series that he's on right now. But he and Steve, I believe, are going to be covering Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and they're going to be doing that on their Properly Howard feed because they've got a couple of other feeds with other podcasts. Cool. But I think they're going to be covering that on the feed that they have with us. So check them out. The big news is that Fallout Season 2 is back on Amazon. They are not binge dropping it. They are weekly releasing it. I think they did a double drop, and then it's going over the new year. And Aaron and Richard, and I think Chase we'll see if Chase is in or out, but they are covering it over on the Radioactive Ramblers. Again, link in the show notes for that, but go there and check. That's their crown jewel show. So go show them, Aaron and the crew, some love. They are our Gen Z podcasters. And within our crew, we have a full spread from Boomer on down.
They're great. Their content's really, really funny. I can't wait for Fallout and can't wait to hear what they have to say about it.
100%. On the Lorehounds, we wrapped up it. Welcome to Derry. Mark is released from his duties co-hosting with that. They put out a Talamasca episode if you're into the Anne Rice world. I believe there are plans for a Stranger Things one-shot in the new year. Alicia just recorded with Marilyn and you, I believe, you guys did a 2-part Wicked.
Yeah.
Like it was so long that you had to break the episode. Did she release it as 1 or as 2?
I think she's releasing it as 1.
I think it's out. It's out.
Yeah, great. Our recording, we ran out of time for our lives and we had to stop and reschedule another time to finish up the second half of our conversation.
Love it.
They're awesome. It was really fun to talk about Wicked with Mary and Alicia.
For reals. And then on December 25th, what is normally a subscriber-only podcast will be released to the public. It is our John, Alicia, and I's TV Top 10 for 2025. We break down our individual lists and along with the community ranking. And that's one of the things that community members get to do is submit their top 10. I don't know. I make that sound like a privilege. For most people, it's painful, especially this year. Like, how do I rank my shows? And then we plug that all into a data backend. Greg does some visualizations on it. We read those out as part of our top 10 countdown. Duve71, one of our subscribers, just put the finishing touches on his draft for the blog post. It's with Brian. That'll go up on the blog. So there'll be a write-up that everyone can see. And then subscribers get to see the pretty visual graphics and what TV networks won and all that kind of stuff. So that's out on the 25th. And then on the 26th, there is our Boxing Day episode. And that's me talking with all of our affiliates and co-hosts. I talked to you and Mark. I talked to Marilyn and Jean. I talked to Ian from Captain's Pod, a bunch of other people. I got about 6 segments. And I do top 3s with everybody because otherwise it would be long. And as it is right now, it's just under a 4-hour podcast.
Oh my gosh.
But it's 6 segments with 6 different podcasts. I'll put notes I'll put time codes in the show notes. But it's a perfect episode to listen to as you're out on your Christmas Day walks or you're traveling, what have you. It's great, slow content, slow podcast content for the holiday break. Nice. And then we will be back to cover Night of the Seven Kingdoms in January. And we've got a bunch of other stuff covering, but I think that's about it.
Awesome.
Let's wrap it up. Quick shout out. Do you want me to, or do you want to?
Oh, yeah, you can go for it. You're so good at it.
It's muscle memory.
Love bombing you.
It's muscle memory. Hey, everybody. Future editor David dropping in here quickly to mention that both Nichole and I forgot to put in a mention about the end credit song. This is the band Traffic Sound. They are a late 60s, early 70s Peruvian psychedelic and progressive rock band. And it turns out Nichole and her husband are big fans and have been listening to them for a long time. So she knew this song. The song You Gotta Be Sure was originally issued as a B-side to the single La Camita. And the lyrics have obvious connections to both Carol and Manusos. Enjoy the cut as we listen to it on the shout-out thank yous. Discord server boosters, Aaron K, Tiller the Thriller, Do71, Athena Ajalea, Lestu, Nancy M, Ghost of Partition, Radioactive Richard and Adrian, Lore Masters, Samartian, Michael G, Michelle E, SC, Peter OH, Nancy M, Do71, Brian EB63, Frederick H, Sarah L, Gareth C, Andra B, Quan U, Nathan T, Sub-Zero, Aaron K, Dahlia V, Mothership 61, Gnarls, Kathy W, Lestu, Jeffrey B, Elisa U, Ben B, Scott F, Stephen N, Julia F, Cully S, Il Mariel, Paul K, Rocky Zim, Jessica A, Red Zippy, the TCS, Dopamini, Catch It, Eleanor, and Forever Last, never least, Adrian. These are our Discord server boosters who make our Discord a better place for the community, and our lore masters who are top tier subscribers who, without their support, this podcast and all this community work that we do would not be possible. I think this is the last time we will talk until after Christmas Day. So this is also the last night of Hanukkah, so all those who celebrate and observe that, happy Hanukkah to you, Merry Christmas, and happy holidays in general, for anyone who celebrates anything else that I didn't cover.
And we'll see you guys again after Christmas to record a quick recap of the last episode of this season, and then we'll percolate on that for a little while, and then get back together for like a deep dive into that episode and the overall arc of the season, and maybe some expectations for season 2.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
I've been trying so hard to make it on my own.
The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by the Lorehounds. You can send questions and comments to lorehounds@thelorehounds.com. Get ad-free access to all Lorehounds podcasts on Patreon or Supercast, and connect with us on Blue Sky and join us on our Discord server. Links for everything are in the link tree in the show notes of this episode. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities. Thanks for listening.